David Wilcox, who, according to my sources, it was we used to work together. He helped expose the real reason that John F. Kennedy was assassinated, which was he was trying to take control of the Federal Reserve Board and give it back to the U.S. government so that the United States could, plan to do good things to the planet, whereas the group who assassinated him had this long-term plan to kill 90% of humanity and enslave the rest. And they operate very high-level hit squads, and my sources, in the CIA tell me this was another hit. And if the story they're putting out that he shot himself in front of the police is true, then they got to release that video. Otherwise, I won't believe it. And now we have to get to the real issue here, which is, who are these real controllers? Everyone knows that this fake President Trump is reading scripts handed to him. So who are these people? Well, I'll tell you who they are. When when I was first contacted by Asian secret societies with their hundreds of thousands of assassins, and I gave them a list of all the members of the Bilderberg, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, and said this is the problem. They sent Leo Zagami over as their representative to negotiate. And then I went to Italy to meet the heads of this, what I call the Khazarian Mafia. And the person he took me to was Vincenzo Mazzara of the Black Sun Group, a so-called cavalier of the Teutonic Knights. And these people were in contact with me this week. They said they wanted to arrange a meeting with Xi Jinping. And they basically threatened all-out nuclear war unless Mazzara was made dictator of the planet Earth. I got this directly from these people. We were communicating via Telegram. And nobody wants this, Black Sun worshipping. So, Scott Ritter is quite right. Iran did win the war. And the reason Mazzara and his people contacted me is because the United States suffered its largest naval defeat since World War II. This news was immediately scrubbed from the internet, but there could be no doubt. Iran simultaneously sank 18 U.S. warships, including a carrier, the Lincoln, which had been repaired and sent back into action, and lost 6,000 sailors. Another 12,000 U.S. troops surrendered. And also, Israel was hit with 2,000 missiles and is also trying to negotiate a surrender because the U.S. military refused to mobilize to fight on behalf of Israel. And the reason is that the sane people in the U.S. military and industrial establishment and the intelligence agencies know that, listen to Larry Johnson talk about what Iran has to say, and J.D. Vance. The Iranians are proposing to replace the satanic, racist state of Israel with the multi-religious, multi-ethnic state of Judea, and that they would live in peace with their neighbors, not cause eternal wars and turmoil and trouble, which is what they're doing now. They are the main source of world terrorism. And everybody knows this now. The whole world is sick and tired of it. And yet, even though the, J.D. Vance reached a peace deal with the Iranians, and they got their Trump to say, no, we're going to have to completely blockade them. And that led to the destruction of that task force. And he has to be removed. But we have to understand that we have to go after these Italian whack jobs who are controlling them. This is the Black Sun organization, Vincenzo Mazzara and his other people, and we have their names and addresses, and it's time to get to the heart of the problem. We have to go after these secret controllers, not just the puppets we're seeing on our TV screens, because enough is enough. The world wants to live peacefully and as friendly neighbors and work together for projects that we all agree upon, like stopping environmental destruction, ending poverty, and turning this world into a paradise. Not a dictatorship, or even worse. There is a group that is actively working for a rogue AI, and they want to replace us with robots. That's the people who want to decarbonize. We're carbon-based life. They want to replace it with silicon-based life. And it's getting to the point where we soon will not be able to distinguish robots from human beings. And they will be controlled by these vast data centers that they're rapidly building everywhere with artificial intelligence. Take a look at this film of how robots are advancing. You know, the Chinese are saying in a couple of years we won't be able to tell the difference. So this is a moment of decision. We have to decide to fight for humanity, and we have to remove this satanic force that has been infiltrating the West for millennia. And, you know, we're really close to final victory for the human race. Let me just check my notes to see if there's anything else I need to say here. Well, yeah, there's some news. Japan has just sold all their U.S. treasuries. I bet you didn't see that anywhere because they're faking the market. It's all an illusion at this point. Their magic money printing machine is not working. And because they lost the war in the Middle East, and because the Iranians are actively moving in, they no longer have the control of the Middle Eastern oil money. So that really was a nail in their coffin. And, you know, there is a plan to, you know, set good government in the West, which would start with a jubilee, public and private, and then set up a future planning agency for the West to ask people what kind of world they want to live in, what kind of future they want, how can we get there, and hire the smartest people on earth to try to make it happen in a realistic way. Not some group of people building giant data centers to replace us with robots, which they say openly. You know, Trump, or the fake Trump, is a member of Chabad, and Chabad says openly, they've been saying it for years, they want to kill 90% of humanity and enslave the rest. And if you listen to the Iranians, they're saying, hey, we're not fighting against Americans, we're not fighting against Jews, we're fighting against the Epstein class, the people who torture and murder. And it's got to get kinetic. We're going to have to physically remove these people. They're not going to step aside quietly. And we need to start by replacing that fake Trump who replaced the good Trump, the real Trump, in June of 2025. He has to be removed, and J.D. Vance has to be made in president, and he has to start arresting the Epstein criminals. And then we can start. And it's long overdue. But I guarantee you that no matter what they do, these people have lost. The whole world is onto them now, and so is the vast majority of the Western people. So the days when they could keep in power by pinpoint assassinating the top leaders and blackmailing the rest are over. They cannot assassinate their way out of this one. And so their only choice is to surrender and hope for truth and reconciliation. That's the only bet they have. But we're gonna finish this, and the sooner we do it, the better. We have no other choice. They're coming to kill us. We have to defend ourselves. Okay, well, that's what I have to say for myself this week. Now I'd like to answer questions from readers and viewers.
Hi Ben, similar to your other readers, I'm very glad that the KM is now defeated and the East-West deal has been made as you wrote in the last weekly report. I expect humanity's major crisis is now broadly averted. As a new era of humanity has started, can we expect no catastrophic events such as total collapse of the world economy? Although some economic troubles might remain, such as high energy prices due to production caused by the Middle East war, many countries will therefore experience significant consumer price increases. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, the fact is there's plenty of energy, and when this is over, the idea of energy being expensive will end, and a lot of the hidden technology will be released. But as far as catastrophic events are concerned, it isn't quite over yet. I mean, agreement was reached with the British Commonwealth, the MI6, and the Europeans and NATO, but the group behind the fake Donald Trump and these Black Sun people are still going to try to cause a starvation crisis, and they tried to get Trump to start a nuclear war. He asked the U.S. military for the nuclear code so you could nuke Iran, and the U.S. military sensibly said no. So hopefully, we will be able to finish this, but until you see the removal of that fake Trump and the replacement of Keir Starmer in the UK, it's not quite over. Although agreement in principle has been reached, and when that happens, the era of artificial shortages will end, and everybody will be able to live like a millionaire. And this is not a pipe dream. This can be realistically done. All you need is competent economic management, which is what the West does not have now. Next question.
Hi, Ben. Ben, Iran just closed the Strait of Hormuz as of last Friday. I'm not sure if it has been reopened yet. Do you know anything about this? And if it stays closed, what does that mean for the rest of the world currently?
Well, it's not closed. Okay, the Iranian oil ships are going through. The only thing it's closed for is about 800 ships controlled by the Israelis and by the U.S. Khazarian mafia. But, for example, here in Japan, the price of gasoline is the same as it was before the war. So it's only a crisis for the owners of the Federal Reserve Board, but the straits are open for business, and this blockade is fake news. The U.S. does not have the ability to do that, and so it's just a lie. So they're not closed, okay? That's the bottom line. Except for criminals, they can't get through. But Israel is surrendering, so hopefully it will be replaced by the state of Judea, and then all those ships will be able to go through. Next question.
Hi, Ben. Do you truly believe that China has removed their facial recognition cameras? I have difficulty in believing that because I thought China was a communist country. Is it possible they have only removed the cameras because they can now track people by other means?
Well, first of all, if you have one of these, this is a listening device with a GPS that tracks you all the time and listens to you all the time. So it's not just for China, but what I heard was that the U.S. was able to kill a large part of the Iranian leadership by following their movements through the street cameras and figuring out where they were hanging out. And the Chinese realized that they were also being tracked by these cameras, that they'd be somehow being hacked, and that's the reason why they removed them. Not out of any, sudden wish to protect people's privacy, which, doesn't exist in China. But nonetheless, they have also realized that this whole system of social points and constant tracking was not what Chinese civilization is about. They're much more into harmony than control. But, this information was given to me by Richard Koshimizu of the Japan Independence Party, and I'll try to get further confirmation, but it is what I heard. They removed the cameras. Next question.
Ivan, we have our last question for today. I heard that Guantanamo is building more cells. Is that true? And if so, do you know anything about it? And maybe you could let us know who's there doing that.
Well, the last time I checked on Google Earth, there was huge amounts of facilities being built there. I haven't checked for a while, but I'll ask around. But the thing is, we don't want to have secret trials that you read about from a single source, like Real Raw News, that is highly suspect. We want this to be public, and everybody on Earth can see it, like the Nuremberg tribunals. So, the days of supposedly secret trials in Guantanamo end. We must have public trials for everybody to see. We need to see people like Jared Kushner put in handcuffs and arrested in front of the cameras and face justice. Same with all these Epstein criminals. Enough is enough. So it shouldn't be Guantanamo. It should be prisons inside the U.S. Okay, well, that's what I have to say for myself this week, and I hope to see you again next week. In ancient times, but it's also recognized by labor unions around the world as the day when they won the right to the 8-hour workday. Well, the labor movement needs to get on the warpath again, because the situation right now is very, very bad. Basically, much of the West is subjected to a system of Babylonian debt slavery, where they are forced to spend an entire lifetime paying money to criminal banks who create their money out of nothing because they've artificially raised the prices of houses beyond the ability for people to afford. Back in the 50s and 60s, a worker at a factory could have his own house, afford it and pay it off in no time, and be able to support his wife so she could be a full-time caretaker of her children and raise the next generation. Now, both parents have to work, and children are forced into brainwashing institutions at a very young age in order so that they can be brainwashed. This is the fight that is going on. And what's happening is there has been, the White Hats have reached a consensus that we're going to stage a jubilee, which is to cancel all debt, public and private, and free people from debt slavery. And then we're going to replace the current system of creating money out of nothing by, controlled by Satanists into a system where a future planning agency run by the smartest people on earth under complete transparency will ask people what sort of future they want and figure out how to make it happen. And we figured out what is blocking us now. And the trail leads to the fake King Charles of England. Okay, he's not the real one. And King Charles was just in the United States where he made a speech, celebrating 250 years of U.S. independence. And the speech was mostly all very good stuff, talking about how the Magna Carta, meant the government just couldn't arrest you for no reason, and support for human rights, democracy, rule of law. He touched all the right buttons, except for two things. One is he wanted to get the United States to support war against Ukraine, or war against Russia on behalf of Ukraine. Let's be clear. What's happening in Ukraine is not a war. It's a genocide. The population of Ukraine went from 90 million in the 1990s to about 18 million today. A lot of them were forced out of the country. But this was a center of bioweapons attacks against humanity, of human slavery, to harvest adrenochrome. All the worst crimes on earth were taking place in the Ukraine, and it's still a genocide. And this man goes around supporting it. The reason why is that's why getting rid of Charles, he's the M1, the controller of the money supply for the Dark Hats, is a number one priority. Now, his grandson, Prince William, is not the son of Charles. He's the son of the former king of Spain and of Diana, and they're Christians, and you need to replace the fake Charles with King William, or the United States and the UK will continue to degenerate. Now, the other thing that disturbed me about the Charles speech was his mention of the so-called assassination attempt against the fake Donald Trump. Now, remember, this was used to create an excuse so they could rebuild a White House ballroom into a temple of Satan. Okay. Now, if you still think this is a real assassination attempt, take a look at these videos. First is the one of all these people laughing as it's taking place. Okay, you don't laugh when there's a real assassination attempt. So take a look at this video. So the whole thing was theater for no good reason, except to justify creating a temple of Satan in the White House. This is the reality that we're facing with this fake government. And the problem goes beyond the United States, and it goes to the UN Security Council, because they have shown themselves to be controlled by Satanists when they refuse to condemn the United States and Israel for attacking Iran. Justice Department is on the case, and it will happen. Now, the other thing that's happening is that the United States economy, still controlled by the Satanists, is being quarantined. People in the United States, which is still occupied by Satanists, have noticed that their gasoline prices are rising. Well, guess what? They're not rising for most of the rest of the world because they are getting their oil from Iran, and they're just not paying to the satanic banks anymore. So the UAE is now independent from these people, and a friend who lives there has gone back and said life is returning to normal because they have agreed to join the rest of humanity against these Satanists. Canada has been blockading automobile parts to the United States, and they may soon block potash. And farmers right now in the United States already have a 100% increase in fertilizer costs just as the spring planting season has begun, and they've lost their export markets. And farmers were among the main supporters of the real Donald Trump, who, as I keep repeating, was replaced in June of 2025. So farmers need to, use their clout to remove these criminals from government. And the other thing, of course, is we need to get rid of that clown Pete Hegseth, so-called Minister of War, who's presided over the greatest military defeat in U.S. history. We have confirmed from multiple independent sources that all U.S. bases in the region have been destroyed. I am hearing some reports that up to 7 U.S. aircraft carriers have been destroyed now. Even if they haven't, the fact is that they are obsolete. Okay, any rational military would immediately bring them back and turn them into scrap, recycle the parts to make missiles and other technology that actually is, up to date, because they're obsolete and they're sitting ducks if they haven't already been sunk. Now, to understand just how incompetent the U.S. military leadership and the fake Trump are, listen to this testimony from the congresswoman from San Diego, which has one of the largest military communities in the United States. Listen to this testimony for a minute. So you can see these are some of the most brainwashed and loyal people who have been following the official narrative devoutly, and yet even they are realizing that something is very, very wrong with the leadership, and we need to move in. We need to we need to remove these people. And I know that they're going to try to flee to South America, but we must not let them get away this time. We have to make sure this satanic infection is permanently removed from this planet so that we can have world peace where we have...
But my constituent, this war in Iran is not theoretical.
U.S. history. We have confirmed from multiple independent sources that all U.S. bases in the region have been destroyed. I am hearing some reports that up to 7 U.S. aircraft carriers have been destroyed now. Even if they haven't, the fact is that they are obsolete. Okay, any rational military would immediately bring them back and turn them into scrap, recycle the parts to make missiles and other technology that actually is, up to date, because they're obsolete and they're sitting ducks if they haven't already been sunk. Now, to understand just how incompetent the U.S. military leadership and the fake Trump are, listen to this testimony from the congresswoman from San Diego, which has one of the largest military communities in the United States. So you can see these are some of the most brainwashed and loyal people who have been following the official narrative devoutly, and yet even they are realizing that something is very, very wrong with the leadership, and we need to move in. We need to we need to remove these people. And I know that they're going to try to flee to South America, but we must not let them get away this time. We have to make sure this satanic infection is permanently removed from this planet so that we can have world peace where we have the people of humanity decide what kind of future they want to build together, and we make it happen. We don't be, scared from one fake terrorist incident into fighting each other forever. The source of almost all wars, genocides, everything is this cult, and they've been controlling the United States and Israel. They are a plague on this planet, and an international movement is now working to remove them from power. But we have to go after the fake King Charles. We have to go after the fake Trump. They have to be removed from our screens, and then this nightmare will end. But we will keep up the fight. But like I say, the Charles is now a high priority white hat target. Same with the fake Trump and Hegseth. They all must go, and hopefully this nightmare will end soon, and We'll have a jubilee, all your debts will be canceled, and then you'll have government that actually does what you want, not forces you into slavery. So that's what we're fighting for, and this is what May Day is about. Okay, well, that's what I have to say for myself today. Now I'd like to answer questions from readers and viewers.
I bet we have our first question for today. What do you believe happens to Wilcox? Do you believe that he actually committed suicide, or does it seem like there's more to this?
Well, let me tell you a story. They once sent a North Korean spy to one of my public speaking engagements, and she offered herself to me, and I was naive at the time. She was beautiful, she was young, and I ended up living with her for a while, and she started going to the police and saying I was taking drugs, I was being abusive. She started doing, tried to chase away all my friends, and finally I took her out into the countryside where there was no cell phone coverage and asked her why she was doing this, and she explained that her family was being blackmailed. Her name, by the way, because she agreed to work with me. But in any case, she told me that her job, her assignment was to chase away all my friends, isolate me, and then dump me and hopefully bankrupt me as well, so that I would commit suicide. Now, I'm not saying that's what happened to David Wilcox, but he did have a beautiful young woman and as a wife, and everything seemed to be going great. And I don't know what happened to him, if he fell into a similar trap they tried on me. I just don't know, but he was trying to work on free energy, and even if he committed suicide, he was driven into it. That's my belief. Okay, next question.
Hi, Ben. What's going on with this war in Iran? We're hearing less and less about it recently, and also in Ukraine. We're not hearing much about anything that's happening over there right now. Is there any information that you can give us in regards to both of those ongoing wars?
Well, the U.S., the Khazarian mafia has lost in both Iran, Israel, and Ukraine. And I forgot to mention that Iranian Foreign Minister Araghchi was in Russia and last week, and they reached an agreement that the settlement with Iran and Israel and Ukraine were all linked to the same people, and that Russia, China, Iran, and now Canada, Germany, France, most of the West are agreed that these mafiosi gangsters must be removed from power in Ukraine, in Israel, in the United States, and they're putting together a united front. So the reason you're not getting news is because the United States and the Ukrainians have completely lost in the battlefield, and Israel, I understand, has surrendered and will soon be replaced by the state of Judea, which will be multi-religious, multinational, and friendly to its neighbors. So basically, these Satanists lost the war, and now they're circling the wagons in Washington, D.C., and in South America, in Patagonia. Next question.
Hi, Ben. Why, if the United States is a bankrupted government, is the U.S. dollar so strong globally right now? Shouldn't it be crashing if the U.S. government is bankrupt? It is way up right now on the yen, the won, and pretty much every other currency with the exception of the euro and the pound. What's going on with this?
Well, as I keep repeating, the U.S. dollar is no longer American. What's happened is that starting in 2008, they quarantined all the dollars owned by people outside of the United States from the ones being newly created by the Federal Reserve Board. So these dollars are owned by China, they're owned by the countries that have trade surpluses, they're backed by gold, and they're separate from the dollars that they're using to pump up cryptocurrency in the stock market in the United States. Even though they're both the American dollar, they have different serial numbers, and they're not being accepted with, in other words, the U.S. dollar is strong because it's not American anymore. That's the bottom line. And the United States is still pretending they control it, but they only control it within the United States and a few other very limited places. And mostly the only way they can launder it is through the stock market and through crypto. Next question.
Hi, Ben. I'd like to point out that J.D. Vance, who also may not be the original, has been in the company of Kushner and Witkoff when trying to negotiate a peace deal. He's the vice president of the fake Trump administration, so he's essentially compromised like the rest of them. None of them can be trusted, and all of them need to be arrested. To think he's the lesser of the two evils, in my opinion, is ridiculous. If the bad guys are running Trump, then they must be running all of them. What happened to taking down Bridget Macron as the ringleader? Now you're telling us these other names after stating it was Bridget who needed to go to collapse the Trump show. So who is it that needs to go first in order to stop this chaos everywhere?
Well, if you see what France is doing right now, they condemned the war in Iran, and basically Brigitte Macron or Jean-Michel de Rothschild has surrendered. And so the problem now is some Italians in the P3 or T2 Freemasons who control the acting troupe with people like J.D. Vance and the fake Trump who are the source of the problem. But my view is that if J.D. Vance is just an actor reading a script, then one way to do it would just be to give him a new script. However, I think it would be better at this point to shut down the entire acting troupe and restore actual democracy once again to the United States. So instead of having hidden controllers handing scripts to actors who appear, who play the role of vice president or whatever, we should restore actual democracy. And that's what Canada's fighting to do, to liberate their American brothers and sisters from this system. Next question.
I bet we have our last question for today. Japan has sold off all U.S. bonds, is what you said recently. If that's true in substance, it's kind of a good news. But my doubt is the sell-off may be to trick a make-believe window, dressing up to look like so, because I suspect who would be interested in buying these real terrorist government U.S. bonds now? That's to say, who would be buying the bonds from Japan?
Well, what's happening is the United States is buying their own bonds by, creating fronts like through these offshore places like the Bahamas, and using cryptocurrency, or in other words, they pretend that somebody's buying them by printing money out of thin air, but they're not accepted as currency in most of the world anymore. And that's why your gas prices are going up. So, Japan did sell them, and the United States created fake money to hide that. But that's not going to make a difference, because there's something known as the real world, and you're seeing that with hyperinflation in the United States and with the rise in gas prices. Your economy is being quarantined until you get rid of these Satanists and their fake government show. Force, because the Chinese and the rest of the world have offered to write off all American and Western debt, public and private, and replace a system of Babylonian debt slavery with one where the government creates money and uses it for the public good. And the offer is on the table, and the elites are refusing it because they're still trying to enslave us. And this war on Iran, and who are these people? Well, let's take a look at the person that the so-called U.S. government sent to negotiate in Pakistan with Iran, Jared Kushner. Here's a guy who's starting genocide in order to profit personally, supposedly representing the U.S. government. This is the same guy who bought 666 West 5th Avenue, the home of Lucent Technologies, where they were developing microchips to implant into human brains. Is this who we want in charge of our government? I don't think so. And the problem is that these people do not want to give up their magic money machine. It's the source of their power. More than 98% of American congressmen accept money from AIPAC. That means they represent Israel, not the United States. And they're not going to give up quietly. They're not going to go away. But these are human slavers. And the whole world is realizing it. Take a look at this MP in Europe, pointing out what the whole world knows. The Nazis and Israelis are the same people. These are Jews who killed other Jews to force them to go along with their insane plans. These are the people who run the United States. And they just lost a war with Iran, and it's the biggest military defeat in U.S. history. I had some talks with U.S. intelligence people and military intelligence, and they told me that 4,000 American soldiers were killed by Iranian missiles, and 3,000 of their family members. They were, buried under their rubble as their plants they're working on were bombed. So this has been an incredible disaster. And yet, for some reason, we still have on our screens a visibly insane man, supposedly Donald Trump, and he was replaced. They seem to have come up with a replacement. But nonetheless, this person is not in charge, and this person is not sane. So, we definitely need to invoke the 25th Amendment, and I believe that the answer is going to have to be J.D. Vance. Here you see J.D. Vance. I know he's connected to Peter Thiel and he's not ideal, but we need at least to step in the right direction with him. And here he is saying that he's going to go after pedophiles. That's important because it's this whole pedophile blackmail network that's fighting for their lives to prevent us from liberating ourselves from their system of Babylonian debt slavery. And they are slavers. For example, we now have a rabbi explaining to us that Ukrainian women were brought into Israel as slaves, prostitute slaves, against their will. Listen to him talk about it. So these are the kind of people who control the so-called U.S. government. And they even brag about it. AIPAC put out an ad saying, hey, yeah, we control all the politicians. They're bragging about it. They want to enslave us. And yet somehow they still control the United States, but not the rest of the world. And we can be pretty sure that this is not going to last much longer. For example, the United States says they're going to block the Straits of Hormuz. Well, they can't. They didn't. It's a lie. They've been militarily defeated. What they're going to try to do next, though, and this one could be good, they're going to try to blockade the Straits of Malacca. That's where 80% of China's oil goes through. So at a higher level, the U.S. and China do have to come up with an agreement on a new system. And it is happening. And also, China is changing in ways people don't realize. They just removed 700 million cameras from their streets. You know how they had this facial recognition system? They had cameras everywhere. They removed the whole thing. They took it out. They said, no, we don't want to have a digital prison for China. Okay, so they are changing. And I think we can reach a deal with them where together we work to make this planet better. Not to enslave everybody to one tribe of Satanists, but rather to all of us decide together what sort of future we want to build, what sort of world we want to live in. This can be done. We just have to remove the criminals who control the Congress. And most importantly, we need to take their control away from the magic money machine. This is the important thing. We need to go after Scott Bessent. He is married to a man, has a bunch of children. God knows where they got those children from, and God knows what they're doing to them, but that's not the sort of person who should be in charge of the money of the American people. And he has to be removed. And as I keep repeating, the Dragon family has an offer on the table to offer with gold-backed money to wipe off all debt, private and public, for the entire West, and then provide unlimited funding that you don't have to pay back to rebuild your infrastructure. Because the Asians believe that if you make your customer rich, they make you rich. It's a win-win solution for them. So the offer's on the table. We're waiting for an answer. And until we get one, we're just going to have to keep going after these people and keep doing it until they're finally and permanently removed from control of the West. This is very important, and it is happening. I mean, France, Spain, the UK, everybody in NATO has broken away from the Israeli regime. So the United States, the Israeli-occupied United States is more isolated now than it has ever been. All the Western allies are dumping them, and it cannot last much longer. But it's horrific to see we still have this madman on our screens every day pretending that he's somehow a leader. He's not. He is a puppet Satanist, and this whole thing has to be taken down, and we're going to require the military to move into Mar-a-Lago and all these other places and shut down these studios, the TV studios, pretending to be government. Enough is enough. I think we're all sick and tired of it, and I'll be lobbying everywhere I can to make sure that this nightmare ends. But rest assured, most of the world has already shaken these people off, and now it's just the United States and Israel that need to be freed, and Ukraine. Once that's done, it's game over. So we're close. Hang in there, folks. Okay, well, that's what I have to say for myself today. Now I'd like to answer questions from readers and viewers.
Ivan, we have our first question for today. A few years ago, you mentioned that George Soros is dead. Now there are people that still think he is alive and well. So, in your opinion, which one is it? I did a quick search on Brave Browser, which found that George Soros is actively alive and healthy as of April 2026.
Dick Cheney, years ago. And after I was told that, the Soros family put out an announcement saying they're going to, hand over control to his children. But after that, they put out an obviously fake video of Soros speaking at, supposedly it was in Davos, Switzerland, but the video was recorded in San Francisco. And I'm pretty sure San Francisco is not in Switzerland. But what's happening is they keep the pretense these people are alive in order to keep that sort of power structure intact. So they pretend he's alive to protect the real handlers, from assassination, and to make it look like, it's still the same people in charge of money. Because otherwise, all sorts of messy inheritance things come up. So that's why they keep replacing, until they stop pretending he's alive, it's not over. So he's alive in the sense that he's alive as a lobby of a group of people who control the money printing machines. But the real George Soros is long gone, that's for sure. Next question.
Hi Ben, I remember you said in a previous video you can show up to an airport in Japan 15 minutes before domestic departures and nobody will search you, which we normally get through at international entrances. My question is, who's the ultimate controller of the international flight security control at global airports? IATA, so SUS or WEF for clans. Even harmless wine cork openers are confiscated at Haneda Airport, and control for the sake of controlling is still imposed. Isn't there any pressure against those in control of international flights for Japan, and why would these so easy checks only be applied to domestic departures?
Well, the domestic departures do actually have security screening. They're just really efficient at it. But yeah, this whole idea of forcing us to go through that humiliating ritual at airports, it's designed partly so they can sell machinery. They have like these body scanners and stuff. But the whole thing does, the path leads to Switzerland and the Octagon Group. And, hopefully when this is over, people will once again be able to just hop on a plane, 15 minutes before flight. And then they can do that without any worrying about hijacking, because the technology's there. They can just walk through, and if there's a gun or something, it'll be scanned. So there's no reason to have these huge lineups except to humiliate us and to sell unnecessary equipment to airports. And it's really annoying. And hopefully this will all end soon. Next question.
Ivan, in your last video, you mentioned that we have, quote, lost to China. Could you explain what that means to all of us, as we in North America, are we now under Chinese control?
Well, what I mean is that the U.S. Moved their industrial base out of the United States into China. This was the leaders of the, big corporations. So China can now manufacture like 11 times more steel, etc. So the real physical economy has been moved to China, and this is not something that can be fixed overnight. So what needs to happen, and the Chinese are offering to help, is to once again rebuild industry inside the United States. And the reason the current ruling class does not want Chinese help to rebuild U.S. industry is because they want to stay in control, and that is what's blocking it. But essentially, these people thought that as long as they had their magic money machine, they could let the Asians actually build stuff. But they forgot that money is only valuable if it's backed by something real, and they lost everything real to back their money. So they lost the financial war, they lost the economic war, and they're losing the public opinion war big time. That's the reality. But, the American people and the Western people are waking up, and they're going to overthrow these criminals, and then once again we'll leave China in the dust. You watch and see. Next question.
Hi Ben, in your last video at the 50-second mark, you say the U.S. military has announced a peace agreement with Iran that basically meant a complete surrender. How can you say that it is surrendering if it is only a ceasefire and not a peace agreement?
Well, if you look at the agreement that was published after Trump was put in the hospital, they said they're going to withdraw all U.S. troops from the Middle East. They were going to pay Iran compensation, and the other thing is they've lost the ability to block the Strait of Hormuz or to control the oil in the region. But what's happening now is the U.S. is moving to the Straits of Malacca, and that is a place where they can actually apply real pressure. So they can force China to reach a fair deal with the West, and that was what is going to happen. But as far as Iran is concerned, the reality is they lost big time. They lost 5 aircraft carriers. Israel lost 60% of their F-35s. They lost 15 Apache helicopters in like 5 minutes in Lebanon, and that means that they can't protect their tanks. And the missiles destroyed the fortified underground bunkers where the Israeli leadership was leaving. So no matter how much they try to fake the news, the reality is they lost. Next question.
Hi Ben, we have our last question for today. What is the deadline for the offer being made to pay off all of the debt? One can only assume that this isn't an offer that's extended into extended perpetually. What's going on with the army being assembled to hunt down the Khazarian mafia as well, and has it started yet?
Well, obviously it still has a long way to go because we still haven't seen anybody arrested for the Epstein case in the United States. But the fact that the Edmund the Rothschild Bank was raided, and the fact that a high-level Freemason assassination squad was arrested, this means that this very high-level control of the government is being removed in France, and that people like Kushner and Trump are underneath these people. So at a very high level, it is happening. But until we get these idiots off our screens, and we once again have government by the people and for the people, it's not over, and we have to keep fighting. But I ask for the military to please go into Congress and arrest every single member of Congress who's accepted money from IPAC. That would be a good way to start. Okay, well, that's what we have to say this week, and hopefully there'll be good news next week. It's going to happen, but it's very frustrating to see these people still in power after all they've done, but it cannot last much longer. They don't have money, they don't have support, and they're internationally isolated. It should not be too long before Jared Kushner and all those people are handcuffed in front of the cameras. We've just all worked to make it happen. All right. Well, hope to see you again next week.
Restored Republic via GC Judy Note. Be ready for events that expose the cabal deep state agenda. Prepare for an unprecedented moment in history, where a series of events will bring to light the truths hidden by the deep state and awaken the masses. Here's what to expect. A lockdown will be implemented to ensure everyone remains safely at home to witness these crucial revelations. This is essential for the security of all during this monumental moment. A test and review of all occurrences will be conducted. Given the potential implications at both national and global levels, it is vital that everything aligns with established protocols. Only a select few are aware of the precise timing of these events. For security reasons, this information is being kept strictly confidential. Expect 10 days of communication darkness, during which the mainstream media will be blacked out. During this period, the following will occur: the Emergency Broadcast System, EBS, will air an 8-hour video, replayed 3 times a day for the duration of the 10 days. We will receive 7 trumpets, in the form of EBS text messages on our phones, instructing us to tune into our televisions. During this time, our phones will only function for emergency 911 calls, and a military encrypted signal app will be made available. Television broadcasts will only display 3 explanatory movies on a continuous loop, covering topics such as arrests, tribunals, fraud, corruption, pedophilia, and more. Internet and ATMs will be down during this period. After the 10 days of darkness, we will transition to a new quantum internet system, which promises enhanced security and freedom. It is advised to stock up on at least 3 weeks' worth of food, water, medicine, generators, and other essential supplies. The Starlink internet system will be operational by the end of the month. Special teams are coordinating this historic event, working tirelessly to upgrade the EBS and ensure the utmost security for all citizens. Following these 10 days, the world will be forever changed, financial enslavement will end, and new currencies will emerge, including the gold-backed U.S. note in the United States. The old systems governing education, finance, healthcare, trade, and commerce will be dismantled and replaced, ushering in a new era of peace and prosperity for all. What's happening right now? The global asset revaluation has received the final handshake through the primary settlement nodes. The emergency continuity protocols have been officially signed off on. The old guard's access to the SWIFT lines has been completely severed and the QFS routing protocols are taking over. The global financial reset is happening right now. The mainstream media is either completely silent or spinning total nonsense to keep everyone looking the other way while the back-end ledgers are locking in the transition to the new asset-backed reality. The transition teams are already in place at the key federal and international hubs, and the asset transfers are taking place in real time as we speak. The oversight committees and the military have officially taken over the continuity checkpoints and the deployment is being prepared for public announcements. Friday, August 7, 2026, the event should be about 3 days, then a 10-day shutdown of Earth and activation of military EBS to TVs and radios worldwide. At the same time all governments worldwide will be stood down as well as further arrests. We will then be having Jazara blockchain elections. We will be having govs 10% the size of what they are currently. All new people. QVS, blockchain no longer like the way we do it. Quantum internet. The internet is rebooted. No more Microsoft. Everything wiped. The current internet is Operation Mockingbird. Same as TV, newspapers etc. will not be anywhere near the same. One news channel etc. all media/papers is owned by the Mossad, all being removed. All private intelligence owned by the UK royals to be removed. No more Mossad, Five Eyes, CIA etc. only intelligence will be military intelligence. Moab equals global currency reset, 1950s, plus precious metal standard plus quantum Jazara plus declas of everything on Earth. See President Trump CO on absolutely everything declassified by August 10th. See, what we thought we knew, but didn't really know and now are supposed to know but don't have a clue. With clones, doubles, made-up movies Hollywood style and Trump's military alliance throwing more popcorn at us, it gets so confusing. Global currency reset, Thursday, August 6, 2026. Bruce, the big call, we are looking at Sat 8, Sun 9 or Monday 10th of August. For Tier 4B, us, the Internet Group, to get notified to make redemption appointments. Bruce's Reno contact said bondholders were flying in and out of Reno to get their accounts funded. They can see money in their account but don't have access. The system is alive and IT knows who you are. You can't pretend your way into this future. QFS doesn't work on promises written on paper or political titles. It runs on the truth. Truth that has been proven by quantum mechanics. And everyone who tried to get rich by stealing, lying, cheating, or enslaving others is being locked out right now. The gate is electronic, but the decision is spiritual. This is what they were afraid would happen. Your record is clean if your heart is clean. That's how things are now. Right now, redemption centers are filtering millions of people. Some are getting the green light in seconds. Some people are being turned down without saying anything. Money isn't the difference. It's how often it happens. You are first in line if you lived with honor and the world punished you for it. Your wealth is already being made if you stood up when it was dangerous to speak. This is the time of quiet power. And your balance is coming back. USTNs are more than just money. They show that your pain was recorded, your debt was fake, and your energy was taken. The QFS is fixing everything, and it's doing it faster than anyone thought possible. Debts go away. Accounts shine. The numbers you see are real. They are reparations. But most people still don't see this. This system is alive. It looks. It learns. It keeps things safe. No one can hack it, take it over, or pay it off. The old lords of finance are banging on a door that isn't there anymore. Their vaults are empty. Their networks have been taken apart. The system they used to control is now erasing their names. This isn't just a change in money, it's a change in your soul. And you're in it. So don't waste time trying to explain it to people who still believe it. Let the truth come out in their fear and your calm. Set the standard. Be the link. Show that the people have already won. Friday, August 7, 2026. Historic Bond Redemption 2026. For decades, the world's elites hid original gold-backed promissory notes in secret vaults. The locks break today. These papers are not worth anything. They are bombs. What is on the way? Kings, emperors, and wartime treasurers issued bonds that were backed by metal, not ink. From Imperial China, dragon bonds. German debt promises before the war. Victory notes from the Pacific. Not paid. All of these are legal under international law. Their total claim is much bigger than the fake debt machine from the 21st century. Why were they stopped? The Bretton Woods cartel changed the world to printable money. If they had honored real bonds, the paper empire would have fallen apart in one morning. So the cartel killed the records and hid the discredited holders. The holders fight back today. Royal families, tribal councils, sovereign trusts, and military guardians are all offering original works for redemption. The paperwork is checked line by QFS and military courts. Central bankers can't stop time. The chain reaction: once even a small amount is paid, the live debt slavery falls apart. The price of gold goes through the roof. Fiat money melts. Governments need to show the world their balance sheets again. Humanitarian megafunds get their power from real value, not fake money. Warning: counterfeit scammers sell digital files that don't have any history. If the paper doesn't have a seal, parchment, and a living witness, it's trash. Do not take anything else. Last flash: historic bonds are like nuclear bombs aimed at the heart of the deep state bank network. Redemption means the end of central bank rule and the beginning of an economy run by the people. Wait a minute. When the first payment goes through, the blackout curtains drop and the biggest transfer of wealth in history begins. Tick-tock. Truth that bursts out can't be stopped. The cartel is in a tight spot. The doors to the vault are opening right now. IMED-Bed's 3 pharmaceutical executives resigned this week. No press conference. No succession plan. Number 90-day transition. They didn't retire. They fled. Start running. Pay attention to what they're running from. Saturday, July 25, 2026. Leaked Space Force internal memo. July 25, 2026. 022. Classification: DS/SCI. Downgraded to unclassified per EO 2026 to 1947. Originator: USSF Medical Operations Command. Subject: Global Deployment Order, Holographic Regeneration Units. In 6 years, I made 214 deliveries to locations that did not appear on any FAA chart. We landed on runways that were built into mountainsides, inside canyons, and on platforms that descended underground after we touched down. On March 14, 2022, during a delivery to a facility in northern Arizona, one of the containers malfunctioned during offload. The biometric seal cracked. The lid shifted 3 inches. What I saw inside changed everything I thought I knew about medicine. It was a pod. Smooth, White, with a translucent canopy. Inside the canopy, there was a soft blue glow, like light was alive inside it. Along the base were symbols I didn't recognize and a digital panel that read, QRU7, Cellular Restoration Unit / Batch 2019-4. Quantum Restoration Unit. Batch 2019. I had been flying these since 2016. That means they had been manufacturing them for at least 3 years before my first delivery, and I had moved over 900 of them across the country. What we think we know as of Saturday 8th of August. 2026, Friday August 7th 2026 Dominion and Smartmatic election rigging systems. Initiated by a court order, the Michigan investigation team obtained forensic access to a DS-200 tabulator. The machine that counts the votes, a Telit 4G wireless chip manufactured in Taiwan, was discovered embedded into the motherboard. The voting machine tapes clearly indicate modem engagement and transmission of election data. Cybersecurity expert, Colonel Phil Waldron. Here is some of the treachery we uncovered in the 2020 general election where that 5 key states all stopped counting votes at the same time in these key battleground states. These were all where Dominion machines, S&S, machines, and Smartmatic software were used. So when the vote counting stopped, and this has been noted in other countries as well, President Trump was significantly ahead. When reporting and counting resumed, a massive spike occurred that favored Joe Biden. Report: Dominion deleted 2.7 million Trump votes nationwide. Data analysis finds 221,000 Pennsylvania votes switched from President Trump to Biden. 941,000 Trump votes deleted. States using Dominion Smartmatic voting systems switched 435,000 votes from Trump to Biden. The Dominion voting machine tapes clearly indicate modem engagement and transmission of election data. Friday, August 7, 2026 Deep State scientist shows up at Mar-a-Lago to warn Trump about clones but turns out to be a clone. Mirror mirror, clones everywhere. A deep state scientist claiming to have worked at a Pacific Northwest cloning laboratory approached the front gate of President Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate last week and told Secret Service agents he carried information that could only be delivered to Trump personally. An administration source reported the man claimed to be, and exactly resembled, deceased Novartis researcher Jason Thomas. Thomas vanished from his Wakefield, Massachusetts home on December 13, 2025, and his waterlogged body was recovered from Lake Quinnapowitt on March 17, 2026. He was among several scientists whose disappearances and deaths have drawn sustained attention. When the identical man appeared at Mar-a-Lago, agents detained him. Fingerprints matched federal employment records and a 2023 DUI arrest. Files and the death certificate, yet the man matched in every detail. He rejected proof of his death as fabricated and insisted Trump's survival depended on what he alone knew. Agents refused access near Trump, codenamed Mogul. Weeping, Thomas begged for 1 minute with the president, saying for all mankind he had to warn of the clones. Cloning has been documented since special forces destroyed deep state labs in the Missouri Ozarks and Alaskan tundra. White hat operators from the earlier raids later arrived at the Tampa Secret Service office with Army Rangers, Special Forces, and Delta Force. A tense standoff followed as military and Secret Service agents pointed weapons at one another. A directive understood to come from Trump ordered the Secret Service to release Thomas to the military. At Fort Bliss the man was told he was a clone of the original Thomas. He denied it, saying he had worked at a lab in Northern California, Oregon, or Washington but that his memory of the location had been wiped. He insisted clones of Trump already exist and that he knew how an attack on the president and his family would unfold, seeking amnesty and immunity. Sources confirmed the classic clone markers, flat feet, missing molars, and no genitals. He still refused to accept he had been created in a cloning cylinder. Friday, August 7, 2026 The FBI whistleblower WHO broke the code. They planned Trump's removal before the inauguration. My name is redacted. My security clearance is still active. And I'm risking everything to tell you what I saw in the classified vaults beneath the Hoover Building. I was there. May 2, 2017. 4 days after Comey was fired. I watched them open the file. I watched them name it. I watched them predicate it on a lie. The investigation was called Oxford, not because of grammar. Because it was designed to be invisible. Hidden in plain sight. A code name that meant nothing to outsiders but everything to those who knew. The premise was simple: Trump was a Russian asset. Trump fired Comey to obstruct the Russia investigation. Therefore, Trump must be removed. But here's what the declassified memos don't tell you. I saw the real memo. The one that was redacted. The one they didn't want you to see. It stated, "The goal is not truth. The goal is removal." Those were the exact words. Not my interpretation. Their words. Typed by FBI Counterintelligence Chief William Priestap. Approved by James Baker. Signed off by Andrew McCabe. What's our goal? Truth/admission, or to get him to lie, so we can prosecute him or get him fired. Strzok wrote. That was the real investigation. Not seeking truth. Manufacturing lies. They knew the Steele dossier was garbage. I personally reviewed the spreadsheet. Every single claim was marked, unverified, internet rumor, or unable to corroborate. Igor Danchenko, Steele's primary source. Russian asset. The FBI knew it. They had suspected it for years. But they used his information anyway. Mike Flynn. They cleared him. Then they invited him to an interview. Then they charged him with lying in that interview. The goal was entrapment, not justice. I watched them do it. I watched them smile while they did it. The Steele dossier was paid for by Hillary Clinton's campaign through her law firm. The FBI knew this. But they used it as the foundation for the entire investigation into a sitting president. This wasn't counterintelligence. This was a coup attempt. And the declassified memos are just the tip of the iceberg. The real evidence is still classified. The real conversations are still hidden. The real conspiracy is still buried. But I'm telling you, it exists. I saw it. I documented it. And when it comes out, it will shock the world. Trump was right to fire Comey. Comey mishandled the Clinton investigation. The FBI knew it. But instead of accepting accountability, they opened a false investigation into Trump. They used the intelligence apparatus of the United States government to target a political opponent. They violated the Constitution. They violated the law. They violated their oaths. And now they're being exposed. The declassified memos are just the beginning. More is coming. Much more. Within 60 days, expect major revelations. Indictments are coming. The truth is coming out. The deep state thought they were untouchable. They thought their crimes would stay hidden. They were wrong. The vaults are opening. Files are being declassified. Truth is coming. History will record this as the day the deep state fell. Oxford, exposed FBI coup revealed truth incoming.
Going to reach a point where nobody can deny it. As things stand, what I'm noticing on the English internet is that Facebook and Instagram, which are controlled by Meta and supposedly Mark Zuckerberg, are reporting the truth now, whereas you won't see that on the Drudge Report or on Google or on the corporate networks or places like Zero Hedge. So there's like two different competing internet worlds, and huge news events are being shut out of most of the networks except for, like I say, Facebook and Instagram. So the first example I want to start with is Representative Ted Lieu and what he's saying about Donald Trump. Please watch these clips. He's saying Trump hasn't been seen for 8 days, and yet if you look at the Drudge Report or whatever, he's appearing every day. And so there's something, it really is, I know it's confusing, but there seem to be different factions, each trying to use their Trump. And now we have this other clip I want to show you where, it's famously quoted everywhere, where supposedly Trump told, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu the F word about Lebanon. So some people took control of this Trump image and sent a message to the fake Netanyahu, because he's also long gone, using swear words. So again, this is very unusual. But watch this Trump admit on some kind of corporate network that he did say bad things to Netanyahu about Lebanon. So there's a power struggle going on, and it's coming to a head for sure. But the important thing to realize is that there was a meeting of the Asian secret societies, and there something happened where the group that controlled Taiwan has now joined the group that controls China. They're now united, and Chinese President Xi Jinping has not been seen since May 25th. And I asked the Asian secret societies why this is, and he said that he's going to stay as president, but right now there's a major purge going on at the top levels of the Chinese Communist Party. We already saw the top military removed, but something is happening there. And I'm also hearing from my U.S. military sources that they're going to make a move against Jared Kushner and the Trump family and that whole group. And they're going to remove Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. And the whole Trump cabinet, Lutnick, all of them are going to go according to these sources. Now, again, it's hard to know until you see it, but for sure, their corruption is being exposed. So, for example, here you can watch this clip about what the president of Kazakhstan is doing with the Trump family as a sign of just how corrupt this regime has become. So, the important thing is that right now, the Inspector General of the Army and the State Department and USAID have started legal procedures. And the reason for these legal procedures is to go after the Trump administration, because the war with Iran has lasted more than 60 days, and so they have a legal basis now, and they're actually working against the entire regime. This is military lawyers. It's going to take time, but this is happening. This is really happening. So, I keep hearing it's going to be soon, maybe the end of the month, but I'll believe it when I see it. But something is going on. Now, the other thing that people are not seeing, if you're not on, if you're watching places like Drudge or the normal internet, blogosphere, you won't be hearing about the trial of Bill Gates and Albert Bourla and all these people and the Rockefellers that's taking place in Holland. Now, I've been writing about this for years, but the difference is, if you watch this lawyer, Peter Strasser, who's carrying out this case against Bill Gates and all those people, this is happening in a court of law, which means that there's actually going to be military enforcement. It's not just someone like me blogging. So watch this clip. This is a legal proceeding, and it's coming out, and hundreds of millions of people are now aware of this. So we've reached the critical mass, and there's no turning it back at this point. Something fundamental has changed, and we're hoping that the control of the financial system will soon be taken away from these people, and there's going to be some kind of jubilee. But it's not over till it's over. You still have this fantasy world where, for example, Elon Musk is going to, take his SpaceX public and become the first trillionaire, based on mostly computer graphics, although they do have Starlink. But nonetheless, these people are fighting to the death. But I guarantee you this time it is different. And one good piece of evidence is that Jared Kushner, who the Italian P3 Freemasons seem to think is their leader and one of the top people in this clique, tried to buy an island in Albania, a Cold War bunker in an island in Albania, because he's obviously looking for a place to hide. The man knows his days are numbered, and he knows, and he's looking for a place to hide. I don't think it's going to work for him. I don't think there's anywhere he can hide, because the entire world is pissed off about, they're just not going to get away with this time. I know it's been very frustrating, but something really is changing. Now, another thing that you won't see in a lot of the news is that the Southern Poverty Law Center has been accused by the Justice Department of staging fake Ku Klux Klan cross burnings and using government money to buy masks and stage cross burnings so they can fake white supremacy in order to justify all sorts of crackdowns on human rights and patriots. So these are the people we're dealing with. They've been staging these fake events, controlling politicians, and not just that, they've also been poisoning us Watch this JFK Jr. clip and to see what I mean. So they're putting all these chemicals in our food, and I think finally we've reached the point where we cannot stand it anymore. And this is also global. Like I say, the meeting of the Asian secret societies is something that the whole world is involved in, and what it's going to mean is that the United States is going to be replaced with something different. Watch this clip from Australian television in Iran to see how the world, most of the world, looks at the current regime of the United States. And remember, this has nothing to do with the American people. They feel the American people need to be liberated from their own government, and I think most American people agree with this. But watch how the Iranians look at the Americans, because that's how the world's looking at the current regime in the United States. You know, that's all I'm going to say for myself this week, but you know, I have been active. I've been making contacts with the U.S. military and the Asian secret societies, because we really do want to see these people finally arrested and in front of the cameras. But again, they still control a lot of the corporations and a lot of the internet, so the battle will continue. But you know, things are happening for sure. Okay, well, that's what I have to say for myself this week. Now I'd like to answer questions from readers and viewers.
Hi, Ben. We have our first question for today. It says, businesses around me are going bankrupt everywhere. Foreclosures are at an all-time high. Good people are suffering greatly, and we need financial relief as soon as possible. If the Alliance is waiting on a minimum number to awaken to disclose the worst, why not release the resources stolen by the cabal now to the good people to help them survive financially, along with some meaningful disclosure? This economic stimulus plan will get the attention of the unawakened normies, make them see the truth, and turn the tide the quickest.
I agree completely, and I told my own U.S. Space Force and military contacts that they need to go and arrest Scott Bessent and take away his control of the financial system so that people can get relief. You know, we're fighting for it. But again, these are hundreds of millions of people. They're very powerful, they're very evil, they're very smart, and they're fighting for their lives. But it's going to take the military to do it. And so far, they haven't, but it is going to happen, because their paychecks are about to bounce if they don't. But we're working to try to help the American people get them out of this insanely corrupt, parasitic system as soon as possible. Everybody who's listening or watching to this, please don't just passively sit there. Do what you can personally. Let's all make this happen. Next question.
Hi, Ben. What are we having going on right now in the Middle East? Does this war with Iran actually have anything to do with oil at all? Or is it just about the cabal wanting to instate central banking in a country that did not previously have central banking?
Well, it was an attempt to steal the Iranian people's gold and oil in order to keep the Federal Reserve Board from going bankrupt. However, some people are saying that what's really going on is that they staged this war so that they could raise the price of gas to force people to either have to buy electric cars they can't afford, or to move them into 15-minute cities where they don't need a car and they can be in a little 15-minute bicycle ride prison, and then the whole thing is staged. I'm not sure for sure, because a lot of it does seem contradictory. So I get information that all the U.S. military bases have been destroyed, and then yet after that we get information that U.S. military bases have been attacked again. And we see all these videos of cities being destroyed by bombs, and then we see videos of the cities that are still intact, like Tel Aviv, and it's so confusing with all these fake, videos out there to understand what's really going on. But what I do know from my own direct contacts with the Iranians is that they believe the United States and Israel are ruled by a satanic cult, and they're fighting to overthrow them. and that part is real. And so is a lot. The Asians are also trying to liberate the West from a satanic cult. So that part is real. But as far as all these videos about war and stuff, so much of it is fake. I don't know what to say. Next question.
Hey, Ben. You seem to be a little bit disheveled and out of sorts as of recently, and I'm wondering if you're okay. Sometimes your answers seem contradictory, and sometimes you say Trump is alive. The next minute you say he's an imposter. I'm worried about your health and if you're doing okay, but I'm also worried about the information that you're currently getting.
Well, I've been getting, a lot of contradictory information feeds, and it is confusing for sure. And I think what's going on is that there's a battle with different groups, with different Trumps, with different image characters, and I believe at the end of the day, what we need to stop using fake leaders like an actor pretending to be Donald Trump, and actually once again get back to leaders who are actually elected by the people in a real democracy with real freedom of the press. As far as my health is concerned, I'm feeling okay. I'm feeling fine, but I do need a holiday. I'm going to go to Canada at the end of June. I need to rest, and I need to go on my annual fast to detox. So I'm not in 100% shape, but I'm not sick or anything like that. The other thing I need to do is drink a bit less alcohol. I'll be honest about that. But thanks for the concern, and I'll try to, manage my health better. Next question, please.
Hi, Ben. We are hearing basically nothing about the war in Ukraine and what's actually taking place there. I also wonder what your thoughts are on Tucker Carlson. I feel like he has moved away from the narrative and is truly now an independent journalist, and I'd like your opinion. Do you think that the war in Ukraine is basically over? Is there anything going on? And on Tucker Carlson, do you believe that he is truly aligned with the people's interests?
Well, first of all, as far as the war in Ukraine is concerned, I'd like you to watch this clip from Colonel Douglas McGregor talking about what's going on. So you can see there was an agenda to depopulate Ukraine. The Russians were involved, as were the Ukrainians. And this is Chabad, and the idea was to create a new Khazarian homeland there. And that project is ending, as far as I can tell. The fact that we still see Zelensky on our screens, the fact that it's still funneling money through there, means that the whole operation has not ended yet, and it's still going on. But I don't think it's a war anymore. It's more of a, slow motion genocide and financial takeover by people like BlackRock. And something needs to be done about it. And I think that means a purge on the Russian side as well as on the Western side. Just showed up in China with 30 Rockefeller employees, the whole, Fortune 500 dancing troupe, on a begging mission. And you can tell it's a fake Trump because we've been in touch with the Chinese about this visit, and there's something very, very bizarre going on. Now, first of all, the Chinese told me that Trump and these people were offering Japanese money to invest in China. And just as this happened, this week, Japan's three biggest banks, Mizuho, Mitsubishi, and Sumitomo, have had all their accounts frozen. And I'm a victim. I have $2,000 in a Sumitomo account I can't access, which I'm supposed to use to pay bills, right across the country. That's $3.7 trillion that was stolen. And the official cover story being put out is that they're shutting down for a system revamp using Anthropic AI's Cloud Mythos or something to improve security. But the fact is that they didn't announce it, they didn't warn anybody, they shut all the bank accounts in the three biggest banks in Japan. And the Chinese are telling me this money is being offered to China. So that's the kind of people we're dealing with. The Chinese told me that while the Americans were there to talk business, the Chinese said that they were telling them that they had to stop all the Israeli attacks in Gaza and in Lebanon, and they had to stop, all these wars, and that's what they wanted to talk about. The other thing is the Chinese told me, the Asian Secret Society told me that there's no worry about Taiwan because Taiwan and China are already under the control of the same secret society. So they're already reunited, and so it's not an issue. This is what the Chinese told me. But clearly what we've told the Chinese and what we recommend is that we need to bankrupt the U.S. corporate government. We need to bankrupt the Rockefellers. We need to nationalize those corporations and return them to the American people because all that ownership was used through central bank fraud, money created out of nothing, and it has to end. And it's getting really, really bad. I mean, the CIA just raided Tulsi Gabbard's. So these goons, these criminals who seized the U.S. government, are using actors to pretend that there's a crisis so that they can install dictatorship. I mean, they are literally fearing for their lives. People are really angry. The leaders who work for the Rockefellers, that includes Friedrich Merz in Germany, is the most unpopular president in German history. Keir Starmer, the most unpopular PM. The fake Trump is not supported by 72% of Americans. Macron, they're all widely hated, and we really, really need to remove them. I'll continue lobbying everybody I know to take action, but we need the military police at this point. Nothing else is going to do it. I mean, when you have the CIA raiding the Office of the Director of National Intelligence against presidential orders, this is a declaration of war, and war means we have to, go in and physically remove these people. They're not going to go quietly into the night, that's for sure. But the whole world is ready to remove them, and it's well overdue. I'm hoping it'll happen soon, and everybody listening to this needs to do what they personally can to make sure this horror show ends, and we can actually have a government for the people of Europe that actually is friendly to the rest of the world and works to make the life of the common people better, which is what the government is supposed to do. They're not supposed to be trying to kill us and poison us and enslave us. So let's make it happen. All right, well, that's what I have to say for myself today. Now I'd like to answer questions from readers and viewers.
Hi, Ben. We have our first question for today, which you've already partly answered in the beginning of this video. What are your thoughts on Trump visiting China right now? It says, I personally believe the world's two largest superpowers working together could do some really great things for humanity. And I also appreciate how China seems to be relatively uncorrupt in their government compared to adjacent nations. Do you think that the United States and China does have the potential to work together to increase the rate of human expansion?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the official Chinese readouts of the meeting, they're saying, let's work together, let's prosper together, let's work to make the world better. But they're also saying you need to back this up with action and not just words. And I know from my Chinese sources, right up to Xi Jinping, that they insist that they have to stop all the terror and war as a condition. But yeah, I mean, the Chinese look at the United States from a long-term perspective, and this meeting was about the United States, not about the Trump regime. And they've extended a hand of friendship, and I've been told they're willing to write off all the debt. All they're asking for is an end to the antisocial behavior. Next question.
Hi, Ben. Says, so you answered my question last week about your favoring Carney, but I see that this is all based on Trump being another person in the current moments, attacking Iran, licking Netanyahu's feet, etc., and doing the bidding of the cabal. But what if you're wrong about this? Have you noticed that you seem to be the only person who's saying the white hats want a jubilee and all the debt gone, criminals in jail, start of a new slate? I haven't found anybody else saying that but you. The Chinese have their own interests to think about before being the altruistic shining beacon of hope and giving gold to the rest of the world. And they still have their own interests to ensure we would never talk about it, as if they were allowing us to have secret agendas because they hold the gold. What if you are wrong and Trump is actually destroying Iran and Israel on purpose? And what if he's playing the lunatic while he knows exactly why? Otherwise, Israel would not have taken him seriously had he not attacked Iran.
Well, first of all, about the gold and the Jubilee and all that, I have direct sources. For example, I talked to the actual Dragon family, which is the group of Asian royal families. I've flown to meet these people. I've got documents to prove it. And I also talked directly to the Hongmen, who are the 55 million member Asian secret society that includes Xi Jinping. And so I get my information straight from the source. I'm not scouring the internet. That's why if I don't get information that nobody else has, then I'm not doing my job, because I'm a reporter. I'm supposed to get news from the real world, not regurgitate secondhand stuff. So everything I hear is directly from the sources, including the British royals, the Spanish royals, Habsburgs. I talk to all these people. That's where I get my information from. Now, as for Trump deliberately acting to cause chaos, there may be something to that, because it's so way over the top. It's like he's trying to blow it up from the inside, it almost seems. However, British intelligence say that's not the case. They say that he has late stage syphilis, which causes extreme megalomania. But whatever. I mean, the whole show has to end, and then the whole world has to see it end. That's for sure. And you can believe me when you see it actually happen. In the meantime, just think of me as a source of information, and compare it to other sources and make your own judgment. Next question.
Hi, Ben. Trump started the war with Iran, and now we can't get Middle Eastern oil, and he's also making enemies of Canada now, so I'm concerned we may not get oil from Canada in the future. Our price at the gas pump is way up with what he's doing, and it seems like it'll continue to increase as he continues to do what he's doing. Do you think he actually cares about the people paying such high prices for gas at the pump or commodities in general? Is there much of a chance that our gas prices will go back down, or any chance at all that our commodities such as food go back down at all?
They'll go back down immediately as soon as the terrorist regime using the fake Trump is removed. I mean, what's happening is the American people are being held hostage by these criminals, and the people of the world are trying to liberate the American people from satanic rule. And as soon as that happens, as soon as you march into Mar-a-Lago and arrest all these clowns, and as soon as you remove all the clowns from Congress who are working for Israel, then your gas prices will go down immediately, because the boycott will end. It's up to the American people to overthrow these criminals who seized your government. And as far as Mark Carney is concerned, I just, listened to him come back from the meeting in Europe with all the European countries except the United States, where he said we're going to persecute war criminals, and that I support. The rest, what he's doing to Canada, I'm not involved with that. I'm just looking at the fact that he's trying to get the world to prosecute these war criminals, and that part of what he says is what I support. The rest, I don't. Next question.
Hi, Ben. Do you perceive the real Trump, as we call him, to be an intelligent individual? What were your thoughts on him before his presidency? I liked the real Trump that I thought was the real Trump during his days in office. I don't like exactly how he says the things that he does, but I do like that he says them in his own way. But to me, his lack of diverse vocabulary during public speeches makes me a little bit embarrassed for our country. Doesn't seem to be a very articulate man. What are your thoughts?
Well, the real Trump, who disappeared in June of 2025, was someone I supported and respected. And he wasn't trying to start a war with Iran, and that's why he was removed, because the Chabad cult wanted to start their Armageddon. And so, you have to realize that there are different groups with completely different agendas, each having their own Trump. And unfortunately, the White Hats lost their Trump. I've been told by my U.S. Space Force contact they're going to try to bring them back. Maybe they'll find them, or maybe they'll bring in a new avatar. But whatever, as long as the policies, change and the lunacy ends, then great. But at this point, I think we should move on from the Trump avatar and try to get real leadership. Again, we need an American-style Vladimir Putin to really drain the swamp, and I don't know who that would be, but we're hoping someone like Representative Massey will step in and do what needs to be done. Next question.
Ivan, we have our last question for today. There's so much going on right now in the geopolitical scene. Where do you see this realistically heading? I'm all for sunshine and rainbows, but at this point, I don't think that's the way that it's going. I believe that we are building up to a climax here, possibly a biblical one. And if the devil and his demons exist, then so must God and his angels. I think that we may just be born in the era towards the end of that biblical timeline. What are your thoughts?
Well, certainly the United States is headed for collapse, a Soviet Union-style collapse, and that's going to cause hardship at first until, new leadership steps in and starts cleaning things up. And there's also an argument to be made that, something fundamental is happening with monotheism, and that their whole several thousand year plan to put the entire planet under the dictatorship of a single individual is collapsing, and instead we're going to have a global village and not a single God King as the end. So in that case, the long-term goal of monotheism has failed, and humanity is going to head for a multipolar, friendly village type model instead of a single Roman-style God King or Pharaoh-type model of leadership. So in that sense, you can say it's biblical and that monotheism may be coming to an end. The U.S. media keeps reporting that Trump's going to go on May 14th to have a summit meeting with Chinese leader Xi Jinping. Well, I asked the Asian secret societies about that, and this was their answer. We, the Hongmen, have absolutely no intention of saving the current Israeli puppet regime. He's referring, of course, to that whole fake Donald Trump show that Americans are being subjected to every day, and with increasing disgust. 60% of Americans oppose what he's doing. Only 33% now support it. But, it's not over until it's over. But we know that Howard Lutnick was taken in for questioning, and he basically first admitted he lied about going to Epstein's Island. There's very little doubt that Lutnick was, blackmailed by. We have it on the record that the fake Trump was doing that, and this is important because these people are going to face justice, and this is not abstract anymore, because Canada participated in a meeting of 50 European countries. Okay, that's all of Europe. Everything to do with Europe. And they agreed. Well, listen to Prime Minister Carney. So he's making it clear, we're headed for war crimes tribunals, and the Anglo-Saxon military, the White Hats, together with the rest of the European military, are not going to let these criminals get away with it this time. There will be a new Nuremberg tribunals, and these people will face justice. They have no choice, and we're not going to, let them blackmail us with hantavirus, or apparently also they're going to try another UFO show, but it's just not going to work this time. We have to finish them off. And what's very interesting is that the French and the British sent a task force it's headed for the Straits of Hormuz. And this includes the French aircraft carrier Charles de Gaulle. And what I'm hearing from my Iranian and British intelligence sources is that they're there to protect European and Canadian shipping and world shipping from American pirate attacks. Okay, the Iranians have agreed to allow the countries of Europe and places like Japan to continue to, buy oil from the Middle East without any interruption. It's only the United States that's being boycotted, and the British and French navies are going there to help protect their shipping in order to lower insurance costs. Think about that. This is an actual military campaign directed at the rogue Israeli puppet state, which is no longer the United States of America. It's no longer a democracy. It's a theocracy run by Satan worshippers, and the people you're seeing are actors reading scripts. We're sick and tired of this. The whole planet wants to move to, a normal development and creating a bright future. And, China now, most of Russia is heavily infiltrated by Chabad and needs to clean its own act up. But certainly the entire world now, including the European world, is lined up against the Israeli puppet state, and it's going to end. And when it does, all sorts of wonderful things are going to happen. Like I say, the Chinese, the Hongmen, they told us they fully support rebuilding the United States as a normal country. All your debts will be written off, and then huge new developments will start. All your infrastructure will be rebuilt. All your debts will be canceled. All you've got to do is get rid of these privately owned central banks and corporations, the Fortune 500. They have to be removed from control of Satanists like the Rockefellers, temporarily nationalized, and then without punishing real entrepreneurs, the whole system needs to be rebooted. We have to have a jubilee. This will be done in public with full consultation of all interested parties to make sure it's done to, hypercharge the U.S. economy into an era of fast growth that turns everyone into middle class or upper class. And just to give a taste of the sort of thing that will be coming to the United States once these criminals are overthrown, take a look at these 3 buildings in China. This is the sort of thing they're doing, what you can do when you have a government that's actually working to make people's lives better. But it's quite amazing. Take a look at these buildings. So, we're close to the inflection point, and I don't see any way that these people are going to escape justice. I don't want to give timing for it, but the United States is running out of money. They're running out of oil, and they're under international quarantine. So it'll cause some suffering for the American people. There are already gas prices are up 40%, and even though energy companies are only 3% of the stock market, energy is about 70% of the real economy. So when you see a 40% increase in gas prices, that's going to hurt the average people. And hopefully it'll hurt them enough that they'll go to Washington, D.C. and arrest all those traitors, you American Christians, as we speak. So I hope the military white hats move in, arrest all those fake congressmen and the actors pretending to be president and war minister and all that. Just put them in jail. Let's end this. Okay, well, that's what I have to say for myself today. Now I'd like to answer questions from readers and viewers.
Ivan, we have our first question for today. During the past weeks, I am getting the impression that you are transitioning to favor Carney, even though he cannot be trusted. His election and power grab is near despotic. His position on joining the EU is tantamount to a grand sellout without permission from the Canadians. Why does it seem like you're currently favoring Carney?
Well, if you listen to Carney, and he says that he supports democracy, the Khazarian mafia knows that the entire world is now zeroing in on them, and they're trying yet another nasty bioweapons attack. I got this email sent to me from the KM by that he supports democracy, rule of law, and that's what we need. The United States is not a democracy. It's a theocracy run by Satan worshippers. So, I'm not a 100% fan of Carney, but the fact is that right now, the British, the Canadians, the Australians, and I think a majority of American people all agree that we need to restore democracy and rule of law. Who occupy your government? So I'm not in favor of Carney. I'm just agreeing with him that we have a common enemy, which is the Khazarian mafia and their puppet regime in the United States, which is not really being democratically elected. Okay, it's a Nazi fascist dictatorship, and we're all trying to overthrow them. Once that's done, I'd be happy to see Carney removed. Next question.
Hi Ben, why doesn't Russia and or China give Iran nuclear weapons? Then the war would be over, since Iran has nuclear weapons and might use them if attacked again, almost using them as a defensive mechanism.
Well, the fact that Iran was able to destroy all U.S. bases in the Middle East and pulverize Israel without being hit by nuclear weapons is because they already have 400 solid-state nuclear-armed missiles given to them by North Korea. So they have nuclear weapons, and that's why they haven't been attacked. The propaganda media in the United States is saying, oh, we got to prevent them from getting them. Well, they've had them since George Bush Sr. gave them neutron bomb-tipped missiles. And they don't want to use them, and they tried to return them in the Obama era, but Obama didn't want to accept them. But the fact is, Iran isn't being nuked because they already have nukes. Next question.
Hi Ben, I can only think positively as of late at this point. I've been praying for what we need to be seen done. However, it seems the media is prepping everyone since I keep hearing about it. It does seem that Prince William and Catherine are ready to rule, and hopefully you're right about their status as white hats, although lately Catherine appears very thin and haggard. So will we be hearing about any agreements between Russia and Ukraine?
Well, I heard that the British have already made a deal with Russia over Ukraine, and it basically, what it means, it's the old agreement between Frederick the Great and the Russian Tsar, where the Russian zone of influence goes from the east of the Dnieper River, and the Western European zone of influence, or German, goes from the west of the Dnieper River. And in that agreement, Odessa will become a free port, sort of like Hong Kong, so that the Ukraine will not be landlocked, and they'll have access to exports and imports. And that's the general agreement that's been reached. So when that happens, it'll probably be made public when there is a formal change to King William. And hopefully that'll be soon, but we'll see. Next question.
Hi Ben, can you explain to us in a little bit more detail how the clone thing works? I think a lot of us are a little bit confused on this.
Clones?
When you mentioned that certain political figures are replaced or fake, how do the entire clone process work?
Oh, I see. Okay, look, I've been told for like years and years and years that they have clones. But the observable facts show that's not the case. What they have is they have actors who are being surgically altered to look like leaders. So, for example, you had a Hillary Clinton who was suddenly 20 centimeters shorter than the original, but with an identical face. If it was a clone, it would be identical. There are differences. You can see them. The ears are different, the height's different, the things that you can't alter with plastic surgery are different. So my understanding is they have many well-trained look-alike actors who can go in front of an audience and read a script and appear to be that person, but they don't have clones. Okay, it's not that. I just haven't seen evidence for that. My understanding is that clones of animals suffer from short lifespans, and I don't think there's any way to transfer memory to a clone. So I use Occam's razor. I find a more simple explanation, which is they find people who look like these leaders, and then they give them plastic surgery to make them look more like them, and then lots of training so they can act and sound like them. That's what's really going on. Next question.
Hi Ben, can you explain why China is building up a fleet of, quote, useless aircraft carriers. The strategy of President Trump to block Iran's oil instead of bombing it, in my opinion, is not stupid. Why should a fake Trump do this? The discussion you showed from Congress was not intellectually brilliant. I don't think it said much of anything. What is your strategic analysis about the situation by actual figures and not only by verbal information? And this is our last question for today.
Well, the price of gasoline is up 40% in the United States since March. Here in Japan, the price of gasoline is the same as it was in March, and I think you'll find it similar in other places outside of the United States. So the oil is flowing to everywhere except America, and military experts like Colonel Douglas Macgregor made clear that U.S. does not have the ability to shut the Straits of Hormuz. They just physically can't do it. Trump recently tried with Operation Freedom or something. He sent in a bunch of ships, and the Iranians are reporting that 4 were sank and 2 ran aground, and they were forced to retreat. So the U.S. Military is not able to blockade the Straits of Hormuz, and also countries like Saudi Arabia are not allowing them to use their airspace to attack Iran. So basically, the news you're getting in the United States is the opposite of the reality. What's happening is the United States, the Israeli puppet regime in the United States is being boycotted, not the other way around. When Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent tried to impose financial sanctions on oil companies, and Chinese oil companies, they said no. And so now the Americans are trying to attack Chinese oil ships. That's not going to end very well.
Hello, Patriots. I'm at Restored Republic via AGCR update compiled by Judy Byington. Evidently, the White Hats have been busy. According to a Pentagon source, over 500 Federal Reserve employees have been arrested since October 16th. Prominent political elites such as Presidents Bush, Obama, and Clinton, H.R. Clinton, Kerry, plus more recently, Pelosi, Schiff, and Brennan, have gone missing from public appearances since being accused of perpetrating treasonous acts. Last January 2019, the 9/11 tribunal began at Gitmo and has since appeared to have confirmed evidence of those treasonous acts. Apparently, the recent raid on ISIS leader al-Baghdadi also produced interesting evidence. Evidently, the ISIS leader regularly communicated with the Obama-Clinton U.S. State Department. More mass arrests of global elites were expected shortly. And there's a link to 2,100 caged children liberated and saved by U.S. Marines and Navy. The event should be about 3 days based on the Bay of Pigs, then 10-day shutdown of Earth and activation of military BS to TVs and radios worldwide. At the same time, all governments worldwide will be stood down as well as further arrests. We will then be having Jassara blockchain elections. We will be having governments 10% the size of what they are currently, all new people. Quantum Jassara, aka Trumpsara, quantum financial system, quantum physics, quantum internet. Everything is going quantum. Nasara states, rainbow treasury notes, backed by precious metals, adding quantum Starlink and ISO 20022, internationally regulated USA coins, also backed by metals. QVS blockchain no longer like the way we do it. Quantum internet. The internet is rebooted. No more Microsoft. Everything wiped. The current internet is Operation Mockingbird. Same as TV, newspapers, etc. will not be anywhere near the same. One news channel, etc. All media papers is owned by the Mossad, all being removed. All private intelligence owned by the UK royals to be removed. No more Mossad, Five Eyes, CIA, etc. Only intelligence will be military intelligence. MOAB equals Global Currency Reset, 1950s, Precious Metal Standard, plus Quantum Jassara, plus D-Class of everything on Earth. EBS possible timing. There will be an EBS message sent over phones, TV, and radio around the globe saying that in the next 5 hours or so, everyone needed to be home for a global lockdown that would last 10 to 12 days. Nasara will be announced to the world, which will show that everything new is beginning. Then, through the EBS, they will show documentaries of everything that has happened to wake up the masses. At the end of the 12 days, they will give out an 800 number for individuals to call to obtain an appointment to set up your quantum money account on the new Starlink satellite system. There were 75 deep state banks that were seized, and all assets and accounts closed. All the cabal central banks have been taken over with assets entered into the quantum financial system. The QFS is run on blockchain where nothing fraudulent can happen because everything is traceable. They can see where all money goes, which stops corruption in its tracks. Apparently, all people have a sum of money in an individual quantum financial account. The seized assets of the cabal were moved to those quantum financial accounts of the people. All monies and trust funds were moved to individual QFS accounts. All our bank accounts, savings accounts, and retirement accounts were safe in the new quantum system. The only monies not reflected in individual quantum accounts were investments and shares on the stock market. All that will be gone. It is advised to get out of the stock market. Wednesday, August 5th, final phase activated, no turning back. Tier 4B is now live and moving. Global banking hubs in Zurich, Reno, and Hong Kong just entered their final liquidity cycle. Insiders report notifications are rolling out right now. This is real-time execution, not speculation. Breaking intel, massive QFS movements underway. High-value transfers are clearing through the QFS, triggering full liquidity release across multiple tiers. Private banking channels confirm funds are already positioning, the final step before public rollout. Live bank screens lighting up with rates. IQD $9.35 fully active internally. VND $5.89 exceeding projected values. ZIM processing elite groups receiving now. Private jets just landed. High-level clearances confirmed. Military and government officials are arriving under security escort in Reno and Hong Kong. This only happens when history is being triggered. The next 6 to 12 hours will define everything. Deep state interference has collapsed. Every move is being shut down instantly. The gold-backed financial system is here. Liberation is unfolding. The final switch is being thrown. Be ready. Watch your inbox. When this completes, nothing can stop what follows.
EKB and Federal Reserve Network since 2013. These movements were executed through Swiss clearinghouses and private bullion banks including UBS and Credit Suisse. OFF, the public record. Official reports still show gold held in custody, but internal audits indicate large portions have been transferred out of traditional European vaults. Primary relocation zones include strategic facilities in the United States and Asia linked to new settlement infrastructure. This gold was never meant for market sale. It was reserved for a different system. The return of gold-backed currency, what it means for your money. For most of human history, money meant something. Every dollar, every pound, every franc was backed by a physical reserve of gold. Then in 1971, President Nixon ended the Bretton Woods Agreement and unlinked the US dollar from gold entirely. Since that moment, money has been backed by nothing but trust in governments. Governments that print trillions at will, devalue savings overnight, and accumulate debt with no ceiling. The quantum financial system proposes a return to asset-backed currency. Under QFS, every unit of currency would be backed by a physical asset, gold, silver, or other tangible resources. Governments could no longer print money without limits. Inflation would be naturally controlled. Savings would hold their value across generations. This isn't a radical new idea, it's a return to the foundation that made economies stable for centuries. The radical experiment was removing gold backing in the first place. History of the U.S. Nasara Law. Quantum Financial System Intel. NESARA was signed into law by President William Jefferson Clinton in 2000, at gunpoint because the military forced him to sign it. He wasn't going to, and was to be announced by Alan Greenspan on September 11, 2001, at 10 a.m. This was prevented by the destruction of the World Trade Center by then-President George W. Bush. Dick Cheney and others involved with this great deception. They murdered 7,000 innocent Americans that day and stole billions in gold and silver from Building 7. In early 1993, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled on charges by the Farmers Union that banks in the U.S. were fraudulently foreclosing on farm mortgages, and that the U.S. government was in collusion with these banks. The testimony and proof brought into court by a retired CIA agent led to further evidence and proof that Farmers Union claims were legitimate. It also led to evidence that the 16th Amendment, the Income Tax Amendment, was never properly ratified by the required number of states and therefore declared that income taxes were unlawful. Almost unanimously, the U.S. Supreme Court justices ruled in favor of Farmers Union. The justices recognized that overwhelming evidence proved the U.S. government and the Federal Reserve banking system were perpetrating fraud in many ways upon Americans. The justices recognized that to remedy this situation, massive reformations would be required. When rulings were made by the U.S. Supreme Court, one or more of the justices are assigned to monitor the process by which rulings are carried out. In this case, 5 of the justices were assigned to a committee to develop steps to implement the required governmental and banking reformations. As the justices went about developing the changes, they enlisted the help of experts in economics, monetary systems, banking, constitutional law, and other areas. They built coalitions of support and assistance with thousands of people worldwide, working with us to bring NESARA and GESARA to fruition. These people were called the White Knights. The term White Knights was borrowed from the world of big business, when a vulnerable company is rescued from a hostile takeover. Because of the enormously sweeping changes the rulings by the U.S. Supreme Court required, an extremely strict gag order was put in place on everyone involved. The justices also sealed all records on the case until after the reformations are all accomplished. To maintain secrecy, the case details for the docket number assigned to the Farmers Union case were changed. So doing a search for this case will fail to reflect the correct information until after the reformations are made public. At every step of the process, anyone directly involved has been required to sign an NDA to keep the process of implementing the required reformations secret or face charges of treason, which are punishable by death. To implement the reformations, the 5 justices spent years negotiating how the reformations would occur in agreements called Accords with the U.S. government, with Federal Reserve Bank owners, the IMF, World Bank, and numerous countries, including the UK and the EU. The reformations required the Federal Reserve Bank system to be absorbed by the U.S. Treasury and all fraudulent banking activities to be stopped, as well as remedies to Americans for past harm due to fraud. The U.S. banking reformations will impact the entire world and therefore the IMF, World Bank, and other countries involved, including the UK and the Vatican City. Members of Congress were ordered by U.S. Supreme Court to deny the existence of NESARA, GESARA, or face charges of treason, punishable by death. Some members of Congress were charged with obstruction and threatened with charges of treason. Therefore, all members of U.S. Congress have had to pretend that NESARA has not been passed in order to comply with the justice's gag order.
Thursday, August 6, breaking on September 11, 2001. 2 planes hit 2 buildings and 3 buildings fell down. World Trade Center Building 7 collapsed, and with it, some of the most high-profile Wall Street cases and financial crimes to ever be brought into investigation had all evidence destroyed. Building 7 was a controlled demolition. It housed CIA offices. 9/11 was done by CIA, Mossad, ISI. There were no hijackers. Operation Northwoods, CIA, Mossad, ISI is owned and operated by the Rothschild-Rockefeller cartel. They hate you and want to impoverish, control, starve you via the Great Reset, New World Order. Citadel is the new Enron, and Ken Griffin is founder and CEO. JFK Jr. Thursday, August 6, Fox News. Over 9.2 million people, including illegals, do not even meet the federal requirements or qualify to be on Obamacare. Half of the entire system is fraudulent, with California and New York at the top of the list. With over 60% of the people enrolled not even eligible, it's always the bluest states. Another money laundering system to skim off the top, with illegals and Democrats gaming the system, robbing American taxpayers blind. Thursday, August 6th. Breaking special report. It's over. Trump just dismantled the 300-year City of London. Thursday, August 6th. Breaking financial intel. U.S. Treasury warning. Scott Bessent demands emergency Fed action as the yen crisis threatens to drag down American debt and crush the global system. Thursday, August 6th. Explosive report. Power, lies, and trillions. $65 billion Madoff versus $37 trillion Federal Reserve. The biggest Ponzi scheme in history exposed. Thursday, August 6, 2026, breaking bombshell. Trump's new plan to abolish the IRS. Total IRS abolition and the ERS takeover will permanently rewrite global finance. Thursday, August 6, breaking U.S. debt clock detonation. Trump's treasury dollar versus the debt machine. Every American owed $516,131 in hidden assets. Boom. The August 6th exclusive report, the ultimate deep state cover-up, unmasked, explosive documents that will change everything. AMG News. Thursday, August 6th, the number one bombshell they fear the most. Tucker Carlson unmasked the Fed, the CIA, and the war profiteers running the world's biggest con.
Hi guys, it's Friday. It's the 7th of August 2026. I've got a question for you. All of you people out there that are talking about the amount of debt that your government has got, I want you to think about that. You buy into the theory that America's got this massive debt. The UK's got a massive debt. The EU's got a massive debt. But they print their own money. I'll tell you right now that if Drew and I printed our own money, we wouldn't have any debt. So how on earth does a government that prints its own money and can print as much as it wants, how does it get into debt? Well, I'll tell you how it gets into debt. It's all false. It's all fake. It's all lies. It's all to enslave you. Because if you can print money for wars that you have no real reason as to being there, why can't you print money for the old people to look after them, to keep them warm in the winter? Because it doesn't cost you anything, you're printing it. And then you have to think of somebody who to give that debt to for the money you printed. I'm joking. The time is to wake up to what's going on in the world. Taxes and debt are all fabricated to keep you enslaved. It's time for you to wake up to what's going on and not just sit there and accept it. For too long you sat there and accepted it. Most people who know Charlie knows that I don't accept anything. I don't trust anything. I have to check it out. When I check it out, it doesn't check out. So I would urge you to do the same and come back to me and tell me with a straight face how you can get into debt when you print your own money. Because if you've got a genuinely good reason, I will find you a mental asylum to get you into for life. Drew, good morning.
Good morning, Charlie. Good morning, everyone. Well, moving to Washington, FBI Director Kash Patel says the Bureau is working with China and Russia to tackle fentanyl trafficking, cyber fraud, and child exploitation. Operation Sand Dollar reportedly produced 300 arrests and seized $300 million. Critics warn that closer cooperation could expose sensitive American intelligence.
Well, it's very easy to talk about the amount of fentanyl, the amount of drugs that are going on. That's all distraction. Look over here, look over here. We talked to you yesterday about the news, about the children that have gone missing. Let me tell you something. For the past 7 years, human trafficking has surpassed the drug trade. And yet we're talking about the drug trade Keep your eyes over here. Don't look at the human trafficking side, which has overtaken the drug side. It's very, very important that you actually look at what's really going on in the world. And I mentioned it yesterday, I mentioned it the day before. There's an abundance of people pushing out a narrative that Dubai is not a safe place to go to. We've just spent 2 weeks there in the sun. Peaceful, calm, beautiful. There are people saying, well, I wouldn't go there because it's dangerous. Funny how none of them got ill, isn't it? Funny how nobody was affected by it. Funny how the Amish community were not affected by it. They don't have televisions. Oh, that might be why. It's time to wake up. It's time to see what's really going on. There's a lot going on, and over the next few days, let's put it that way, there's a lot going on that you're going to see. A lot to do with the financial system, a lot to do with the collapse of the old system. I'm not going to tell you exactly what day because it can change very, very quickly. And I might have been set up to say one day to get everybody focused on that, and it happened on another. But in the very, very near future, things are about to change, and they're going to change for the better. So don't live in fear. We're very, very close to the end game. We're very, very close. And I just want you to keep positive and enjoy what's really happening in the world right now, because it's absolutely mad. And when this is all over, you'll realise what an incredible journey you've been on. I would urge you to enjoy the journey. Drew.
Next up, the Senate's final pre-recess window is closing. Supporters want to vote, but disagreements remain over political ethics, stablecoin rewards, money laundering and DeFi. Will the Senate deliver financial clarity or leave America's crypto industry waiting until autumn?
Well, this is all part of the exposure. Of course, we mentioned yesterday, a lot of other countries have already done theirs, including Russia and China. They're ahead of the game. And Trump is just exposing how the corrupt banking system, the corrupt Democrats, the corrupt rhinos, how they've done everything they can to stall this, because people forget the fact that when you've got corrupt bankers, especially when you're printing your own money and the Democrats are in control of it, and the rhinos, they've all done very, very well out of it. It doesn't take too long for you to do your research to see what they're worth, these people, what they came into office, what they were worth then and what they are after a few years in office. They turned from having probably 50 grand in the bank to being multi-millionaires, some of them close to billionaires. And this is the level of corruption that is being removed. And it's being removed once and for all. It's one thing to remove it, but it can very quickly come back. And what Trump is doing, and Putin and Modi and Xi Jinping, they're all removing it and then dismantling it completely so it can never come back again. We're moving forward into an amazing world. This week and next week are going to be amazing times. Don't miss it. And we'll look forward to seeing you with some very, very important information on the Insiders Club tomorrow, Saturday. We'll see you there. Have a wonderful day, a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you there. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Hello, Patriots. I'm at Restored Republic via a GCR update compiled by Judy Byington.
.org.
What was Trump and the White Hat Global Military Alliance doing about such evil practices that were suspected to have been going on since the time of Cain? A lot. The exposure was set to begin in a day or so with the announcement of the global currency reset. Better known among patriots as the beginning of the Golden Age, the reset was taking away the cabal's monetary sources and giving it back to the people. On Wednesday, August 5th, 2026, the White Hats announced on Telegram that the Golden Age was here, spearheaded by Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin, and a fierce 17-nation coalition of the White Hat Alliance. Trump's new republic stood tall, and the debt jubilee had been executed. Nasara Dasara had been fully activated in 209 nations, and mortgage, credit card, student loan, and illegitimate taxes debt were being erased. On Wednesday, August 5th, 2026, at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Q published, military forces are positioning for activation of the EBS. Systems are being readied. Global shutdown protocols are in motion. The blackout is nearing. Disclosures are on the horizon. Large-scale arrest operations are approaching. Q on Telegram. on Wednesday, August 5th. The Washington Post-Telegram published, "The Big Bang event will span approximately 3 days, drawing inspiration from the Bay of Pigs incident. Following this, there will be a 10-day shutdown in the activation of the military emergency broadcast system, broadcasted globally on TVs and radios. Concurrently, governments worldwide will be temporarily disbanded, accompanied by further arrests. Subsequently, the Global Economic Security and Reformation Act, NEWUPDATE, blockchain elections will be initiated, ushering in governments reduced to 10% of their current size, with entirely new personnel. This transformative endeavor, known as Quantum Jasara or Trumpsara, encompasses various facets of advancement, including the quantum financial system, quantum voting system, quantum healing, quantum physics. The transition extends to the digital realm, with the quantum internet symbolizing a comprehensive shift toward quantum technology. Under Jasara, currency undergoes a transformation, with Nasara introducing rainbow treasury notes backed by precious metals, augmented by the integration of quantum Starlink and internationally regulated USA coins adhering to ISO 20022 standards, also backed by metals. Furthermore, the quantum voting system revolutionizes blockchain technology, departing from conventional approaches. The quantum internet overhaul entails a complete reboot, eliminating existing entities such as Microsoft, as the current internet infrastructure is likened to Operation Mockingbird, entailing centralized control and manipulation. Media outlets and publications previously influenced by entities like the Mossad will undergo restructuring, eliminating ownership ties and biases. Private intelligence entities, including those affiliated with UK royals, will be dissolved, leaving military intelligence as the sole intelligence. What we thought we knew but didn't really know, and now are supposed to know but don't have a clue. Wednesday, August 5th, bombshell exclusive. It's going to be biblical. Q drop 3565 links Godfather through his politics and powerful institutions, predicting major global exposure. Supporters interpret it as signaling the collapse of media control, financial secrecy, and elite influence. With attention on the Vatican, City of London, and Washington, D.C., it urges people to question official narratives, examine evidence, and expect major revelation. Wednesday, August 5th, Moderna's CEO dumped $47 million in personal stock at 4:58 a.m., 2 minutes before the executive order for medbed disclosure with no need for drugs was made active. They knew. They sold. They ran. Now ask yourself why the media won't tell you what they were running from. Global currency reset. Wednesday, August 5th. Final phase activated. No turning back. John F. Kennedy Jr. on Telegram. Confirmed, Tier 4B is now live and moving. Global banking hubs in Zurich, Reno, and Hong Kong just entered their final liquidity cycle. Insiders report notifications are rolling out right now. This is real-time execution, not speculation. Breaking intel. Massive QFS movements underway. High-value transfers are clearing through the QFS, triggering full liquidity release across multiple tiers. Private banking channels confirm funds are already positioning the final step before public rollout. Live bank screens lighting up with rates. IQD $9.35, fully active internally. VND $5.89, exceeding projected values. Zim processing. Elite groups receiving now. Private jets just landed. High-level clearances confirmed. Military and government officials are arriving under security escort in Reno and Hong Kong. This only happens when history is being triggered. The next 6 to 12 hours will define everything. Deep state interference has collapsed. Every move is being shut down instantly. The gold-backed financial system is here. Liberation is unfolding. The final switch is being thrown. Be ready. Watch your inbox. When this completes, nothing can stop what follows. Wednesday, August 5th, 2026, 4:11 Eastern Standard Time. Debt Jubilee executed. 0 balances worldwide. Mortgages 0. Credit card 0. Student loan 0. Illegitimate taxes erased. QFS displays updating live. The people are free. NEWUPDATE fully activated in 209 nations. Trump's constitutional republic stands tall. The golden age is not coming. It is here. The world-changing event we've been waiting for is here. Spearheaded by Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin, and a fierce 17-nation coalition of the White Hat Alliance. The reset, the inevitable collapse of debt-based fiat, the global restart button, QFS, quantum financial system, the unhackable, sovereign backbone designed to replace SWIFT, XRP, the digital bridge, the liquidity heartbeat that moves value across the QFS in seconds.
Nasara Gasara detonation. The divine laws unleashed, deep state's chains shattered. Patriot golden age erupts now. Patriots, this is it. Nasara Gasara, the suppressed white hat mandates buried since the cabal's 2001 blackout, just ignited. Fully via QFS quantum firestorm. Fused with Elon code, GCR, RV blasts, and satellite overrides, these sacred protocols are enforcing biblical justice. Trillions reclaimed, slavery ended, your sovereignty restored overnight. Nasara, America's Liberation Hammer, National Economic Security and Reformation Act, signed in secret, blocked by treasonous shadows. Now live. Debt holocaust ends. All personal debts, mortgages, cards, loans erased. Banks' fraudulent ledgers wiped clean. IRS obliterated. Income taxes abolished. Refunds incoming for every stolen dollar since 1913. With compound interest slamming accounts. Constitutional restoration, 1871, corporate fraud reversed. Republic reborn under original laws. Corrupt officials arrested en masse. Elon code accelerates. Your biometric scan pulls Nasara tiers, $100,000 plus freedom dividends dropping as starter fuel. Gasara, Global Dominion Strike, Global Economic Security and Reformation Act, 209 nations locked in. White hats flip the switch. Wealth redistribution tsunami, cabal's $500 quadrillion hordes seized. Floods to patriots via gold-backed QFS credits. RV-GCR supercharge, currencies revalued real-time. Dinar dong, Zim explode turning holders into overlords. Peace enforced. Wars funded by theft? Terminated? How Nasara, Gasara, hits you hard. Quantum activation, Elon code verifies your suffering file. Nasara, Gasara, algorithms calculate your cut, millions in reparations. Payout phases. Wave 1, debt zeros plus tax refunds. Wave 2, prosperity packages $10 million plus 4 verify. Starlink alerts. Nasara, Gasara, tier unlocked, claim divine inheritance. First Enforcers report. Accounts igniting with Gasara gold credits. Redeem for land, assets, freedom. Cabal's apocalypse. No escape, they mock these laws as conspiracy. Now they beg as tribunals loom. Quantum locks seal their fates, assets frozen, networks crumbled. Nasara, Gasara equals God's ledger balanced. The meek crush the wicked. Your protocol, seize the golden age, invites raging. Nasara, Gasara verified. Enter quantum sanctuary. Scan in immediately. Confirm damages. Tier explodes. Bonuses for Q Patriots. Truth Warriors. No invite? QFS hunts the faithful, your prayers flagged you. This is the Great Awakening's P-Day Nasara. Gasara isn't reform. It's revolution coded in eternal law. The storm delivers paradise. Poverty? Eighth. Oppression? Dust? Patriots, rise as sovereigns. The laws are alive.
Wednesday, August 5th, boom. The quantum financial system reigns supreme. The National Quantum Initiative Act will eradicate financial tyranny and unite the world. The National Quantum Initiative Act continues driving the quantum financial system as the force transforming the global economy. Quantum technology stands ready to end poverty, lock in full financial transparency, and unite humanity inside a system free of corruption. The shift is underway now. Nasara and Gasara form the foundation of that reset. These frameworks deliver the global financial and social overhaul that returns control to ordinary citizens rather than banking cartels. Combined with quantum advances, they open the door to a completely different order. The quantum financial system itself is operational and prepared to overhaul the world economy. Arrival of the QFS together with Nasara and Gasara policies terminates the financial tyranny that has held nations for centuries. Debts zero out, wealth redistributes according to real value, and the system finally serves the people instead of a privileged few. Nasara targets a domestic reset. elimination of personal debt, abolition of the IRS, and restoration of a gold-backed currency carrying real worth. Taxation is restructured and systematic corruption is brought into the open. GESARA extends the same principles worldwide. It ends global poverty, installs a gold-backed international currency, and creates conditions for lasting peace among nations. With the QFS already in place, nations exit debt and warfare loses its economic drivers. The quantum financial system runs on quantum computing, transactions clear in real time under complete transparency. Every movement of value is recorded and verified under the strongest encryption available. Central banks lose their reason to exist. Financial freedom becomes the baseline right of every person. Supported by NESARA and GESARA, the system drives the global change that ends financial inequality, removes poverty, and unites people under verifiable truth. Financial tyranny is dismantled and authority returns to the population. Wealth and prosperity become the standard condition for humanity. The age of quantum dominance has opened. What we think we know is of Thursday, August 6, 2026. Wednesday, August 5th, an 80-year-old reader wrote that for 30 or so years, she had her Social Security check automatically deposited in Wells Fargo Bank each month. The next day would take $800 out in cash, leaving around $100 in her account. She did the same in early July 2026. However, she received a letter from Wells Fargo a few days later saying she owed them $800. Evidently, a day after she drew out her cash, someone, inside or outside the bank, had called Wells Fargo and had $800 transferred from her account to theirs. They had her security code and bank account code. Wells Fargo cut her off access to her own money and wouldn't even let her know how much was in her account. She's been calling, going down to the branch and complaining to Wells Fargo all month. They keep telling her they will look into it, which over a month later they never have. It's strange that they won't clear up the problem this same month when all banks are being closed out of the new gold asset-backed system. It's even stranger that it happened at Wells Fargo, which is supposed to be controlled by the Chinese elders who are backing the RV. Wednesday, August 5th, Representative Harriet Hagman. The Department of Education runs a $280 billion annual budget. Less than 25% ever reaches students in the classroom. The rest flows straight into bureaucracy, then to consultants, who turn around and donate right back to Democrats, then to more consultants, then to NGOs. It is money laundering and money churning at its absolute best. This is the Federal Department of Indoctrination in its purest form, a permanent Democrat slush fund dressed up as education. That's why the left is losing its mind over Doge and Trump's agency by agency purge. They're not protecting kids. They're protecting the pipeline. Abolish the whole damn thing. Send the power and the money back to states, parents, and actual classrooms. Wednesday, August 5th, breaking global intel. Trump shatters the British imperial system and the Fed. Europe locked out of negotiations, and Trump demolishes the Great Awakening cannot be stopped. The deep state operators are in a state of absolute panic. Their panic is visible in every desperate mainstream media narrative, every forced digital ID push, and every engineered crisis designed to distract the masses. They are cornered. The Vatican financial records are open. The trafficking tunnels beneath major global capitals have been mapped and targeted. The sovereign human collective is waking up to the frequency of love, truth, and unity. The false light is dying. The true organic light of creation is returning to reclaim this planet. Hold the frequency, trust the plan.
The FBI whistleblower who broke the code. They planned Trump's removal before the inauguration. Mr. Poole, final chapter on Telegram. My name is redacted. My security clearance is still active. And I'm risking everything to tell you what I saw in the classified vaults beneath the Hoover Building. I was there, May 2nd, 2017, 4 days after Comey was fired. I watched them open the file. I watched them name it. I watched them predicate it on a lie. The investigation was called Oxford, not because of grammar, because it was designed to be invisible, hidden in plain sight, a code name that meant nothing to outsiders but everything to those who knew. The premise was simple. Trump was a Russian asset. Trump fired Comey to obstruct the Russia investigation. Therefore, Trump must be removed. But here's what the declassified memos don't tell you. I saw the real memo, the one that was redacted, the one they didn't want you to see. It stated, "The goal is not truth. The goal is removal." Those were the exact words. Not my interpretation, their words. Typed by FBI Counterintelligence Chief William Priestap. Approved by James Baker. Signed off by Andrew McAbee. What's our goal? Truth, admission, or to get him to lie so we can prosecute him or get him fired? Strzok wrote. That was the real investigation. Not seeking truth. Manufacturing lies. They knew the Steele dossier was garbage. I personally reviewed the spreadsheet. Every single claim was marked unverified internet rumor or unable to corroborate. Igor Danchenko, Steele's primary source. Russian asset. The FBI knew it. They had suspected it for years, but they used his information anyway. Mike Flynn? They cleared him. Then they invited him to an interview, then they charged him with lying. In that interview, the goal was entrapment, not justice. I watched them do it. I watched them smile while they did it. The Steele dossier was paid for by Hillary Clinton's campaign through her law firm. The FBI knew this, but they used it as the foundation for the entire investigation into a sitting president. This wasn't counterintelligence. This was a CO attempt. And the declassified memos are just the tip of the iceberg. The real evidence is still classified. The real conversations are still hidden. The real conspiracy is still buried. But I'm telling you, it exists. I saw it. I documented it. And when it comes out, it will shock the world. Trump was right to fire Comey. Comey mishandled the Clinton investigation. The FBI knew it, but instead of accepting accountability, they opened a false investigation into Trump. They used the intelligence apparatus of the United States government to target a political opponent. They violated the Constitution. They violated the law. They violated their OATHS. And now they're being exposed. The declassified memos are just the beginning. More is coming. Much more. Within 60 days, expect major revelations. Indictments are coming. The truth is coming out. The deep state thought they were untouchable. They thought their crimes would stay hidden. They were wrong. The vaults are opening. Files are being declassified. Truth is coming. History will record this as the day the deep state fell. Oxford Comet exposed FBI coup revealed truth in
Hello everyone, it's Michael Jacob with Unleashing Intuition Secrets. So I don't see the go live thing, so Hello everyone, it's Michael Jacob with Unleashing Intuition Secrets. So I don't see the go live thing, so I'm not sure if I'm live. So if I am, somebody jump in the stream and give me, we can hear you. That'd be awesome. So one of the things that I've noticed over the course of a very short period of time is that 5x5, thanks, Rod. So good. So now I can just go forth and share information. So one of the things that I've noticed is that for quite a long period of time, we go back to Paradise Fire. In Paradise, California, where there was obvious directed energy weapon use many years ago, that we, the American people, have not been protected by our military and our president, whoever that president might be. Of course, during that time frame, it was not President Trump. So I'm not blaming President Trump, Commander-in-Chief, at this point for past directed energy weapon attacks, of course. That happened on other presidents' watch, but I am calling out President Trump and our military for not protecting we, the American people, from directed energy weapon attacks, because we're having those. It's absolute, it's obvious, and they're ongoing. Right now, in the Gan fire in California, just recently, a woman was burned to death in her home. Right, so and with her, I assume her dogs, because she wasn't leave her home because her dogs were there, And the same situation, the dog kennel completely burned, her home completely burned, while all around her, the vegetation is green. So it's the same type of deep state attacks. I would say there's some kind of element here in the United States that is allowing the deep state attacks to happen, and that's because it protects them. The deep state will get immunity from attacks, as we've seen. A lot of the deep state Bubba's homes have been taken out, and those that are conservative, that are for Americans and for the world, like Mel Gibson. His Malibu home was burned to the ground, while the vegetation all around his home is green still. And Tom Hanks's home was not. All right. So, and right above his house, a home was completely burned, just to show everybody, who's boss, who's in control here. We protect our people, I guess, and they're not gonna have any harm. All right. So these are the things that we're seeing right now. So let's look at some of these homes and some of the structures. And then the unfortunate recent Gan fire attack, direct energy weapon attack on this one woman's home where she was burned. Direct energy weapon attacks where people are burned to death in their homes, running away in the streets where their bodies are almost liquidated on one side. The other side is not. There's nothing happens to it. It's just burned on one side. I mean, all the way to the bone. It's burned on one side. We've seen that in Maui. Michelle Melendez, I've had her on the show many times. She's done extensive research that was in her book, best-selling book, that had multiple best-selling. She would sell out of it. It would do a reprint. It would sell out again. So, a lot of people got that book. The book obviously still available. And the Maui fire. She pointed out, the inconsistencies, and I'm going to show you all the different things. So let's look at this one real quick.
I begged her. I told her leave the dogs. She was more important. She wasn't going to leave her dogs, and she couldn't get them out of there.
We continue to follow that break.
Okay, so I guess she had conversations with her friend. And these conversations obviously happen over the phone. The deep state obviously can monitor the phone calls. I think they can even probably look into our homes. That's already been discovered because the different CIA we've already know the CIA can. If you have a Samsung TV, which almost everybody does, I'm looking over here, is that a Samsung? So the Samsung TVs, basically, even though it looks like they're off, they can listen in, they can view you. So don't discuss confidential stuff in your home with a Samsung TV. All right, so they probably were listening. They probably are monitoring all of the area. They saw that this woman was having a conversation with her friend. She wasn't leaving her home, so it was like, okay, let's make an example because we want these people out. We want to create fear. And the U.S. military is not going to do anything to us. So we know that already. So we can get away with murder, which they're doing all over the place. They can destroy homes. They can burn towns to the ground. And to continue this process, and no one is doing anything about it.
He's out of Calaveras County tonight, where the Gan fire has claimed one person.
Officials found the body of a woman inside a burned-out home near Angels Camp. That home sits on about 40 acres off of Hakima Drive. Other structures were also destroyed in that same area, 7 structures total. Friends have identified the woman as Susan Solari, a longtime dog breeder. Live Copter 3 flew over her property earlier today, as well as that of her neighbor.
Okay, so we have the same situation in this photo. The trees are still green all around the home. Some of them were burned right next to the home. So I guess we want to, not make it too obvious. But as you see, the cars were burned to nothing, right? Just bare metal. And her home was burned all the way down to the ground, as you guys are going to see, Even they went after her kennel.
He flew over her property earlier today, as well as that of her neighbor, Joan Wilson. Wilson lived next door to Solari for 15 years. She told us.
All right, so these guys are walking around. The fire's all gone, right? But look at this house. It is burned down to ash. You know, marble, ceramics, you know, whatever, metals, twisted metal left. This was a super hot fire, pretty much burned everything into ash.
Solari refused to evacuate because she didn't want to leave her German Shepherds behind.
So here's the kennel, all right? And you see, you know, where they had the dog run here. They burned the kennel to the ground. What, you know, was it metal? Was it a metal kennel? Probably. And they burned it to the ground, into ash, just to make an example. So this is an example making right here, and no one is doing anything about it. So local, state officials are obviously corrupted because they're not speaking out. They're not doing their best to stop these fires and so forth. Military, law enforcement, you know, officials, political officials, it's compromised everywhere. So we, the American people, are not being protected by our military. This is bullshit. Our president is not calling this out and going after the people that are doing this.
Wilson's home survived the fire, but she is heartbroken that she lost her longtime neighbor. And in fact, the two had been on the phone as the flames were closing in. The sheriff's office has not officially identified Solari as the victim.
Well, the Gann fire's burned over 10,000 acres since it broke out after 5:30 Monday night. So far, as last count, 18 buildings were destroyed. One fighter was hurt.
All right, so we're up to 18 buildings, over 10,000 acres. Holy smokes. What the heck? All right. So all on the left coast, there's no rains, hot temperatures, dry, fires out of control. No one can put them out. All right. They come in and they dump water on these fires, and the fires just keep going. You know, 10,000 acres here, 10,000 acres there, here 10,000, there 10,000. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The water tankers of fire suppression, 50 fire engines. It does not matter. All right, because this is a directed energy weapon attack on us, and it doesn't matter how many firefighters are put out there. They're showing us. It doesn't matter. You're in your home and you're protected in your home. Probably have, I don't know, maybe she had all kinds of security and so forth in her home. She could be out with a hose fighting the fires with her hose. Who knows? But basically, you can be in your car driving away. You can be running on a road. You could be in the water. And they'll hit you with a directed energy weapon and fry you. And in some cases, you'll become ash, you'll be untraceable, and then you won't even exist on the list of people deceased. You'll just be missing. And you'll be missing forever, because there's still thousands of people that are missing in the Palisades fire, right? Not the Palisades fire, but the Paradise fire. It's thousands of people. Right. I talked to a gentleman the other day, and same thing. We have a lot of children that have vanished in the Maui fire. Right. So people are still unaccounted for, and they just say, "Well, we found the bodies of 100, and that's it. That's the count." This is what they're doing. So they're killing us, whoever this is. Right. Deep state, whoever's doing it. Our military is not protecting us. Our president is not protecting us. The commander-in-chief, right? He's off fighting a war in Iran, which I agree with. Go take out that war that was started back in 1979. It's causing a lot of problems, but you should be taking care of we, the American citizens here in the United States. And as I'm talking about this, they're going to, like, use a direct energy weapon and burn me in front of everybody, so no one else speaks out. So what the hell? This is complete BS. So this technology is obviously on a level that even our military and our president cannot protect us. This is a very sobering fact that we have to look at right now. So how do we, the people, stand up against this mass murder that's going on and the destruction of our property that's going on within the United States on an incredible scale? All right, these are the questions that need to be asked. All right, so let's look at a little bit more. The more recent fires, I guess we could say, that are happening in Washington and Spokane. So Spokane, I'm looking at the press on Spokane. It's like buried, completely buried. I'm looking at, a few days ago, there was like massive amounts of images of fire damage, just like, we've seen in all these other structures, burnt to a crisp. They're obvious because we're talking about it, and a lot of people are talking about it, and a lot of people are speaking out about it. They're trying to suppress this information now, right? And they know if they just suppress this information long enough that we'll get tired of, talking about it, I guess, and just move on. So here's Spokane. The fire damage, as you see right there, this car, tires burned, everything, the home burned. You see all the greenery around it, the house next door. Here's the car. Here's another car. What the heck? This car just burned to a crisp next to a house that's nothing, and the boat. Usually when they direct your energy weapon attack, they'll take these boats out if they hit it with the ray, and all you'll see is the structure where the boat sits on, and there will be nothing left of the boat. It'll be completely gone. And look at that. The boat's it's just sitting out here, and you would say, well, why didn't the heat make some kind of difference? Because this had to burn really hot, you would think, right? But your microwave, you put something in your microwave in a microwave-safe dish, it just cooks the food from the inside out. All right, if you leave it in there too long, it'll start to disintegrate that food into ash long enough. All right, so this is the kind of stuff we're seeing. Microwave energy. This is not something I'm making up. This is observation, science. All right, so we observe something enough, and we see the same process over enough time. We can say scientifically what is happening. The structures are burning to ash around trees that are not being touched. Some kind of device, it seems like a microwave type technology, that is coming in and destroying these homes, these cars that are on a road that is leading away from where the fire is, and all the cars on this road are burned to a crisp in an area where even the telephone pole, half the telephone pole has been disintegrated. The lines are still there, and the trees on either side of the road, green, no problem. So as these people were trying to escape from Paradise and from Lahaina, they were burned inside their cars to a crisp, right? So this is, again, our military cannot protect us. So this is, this is all the pictures we got now. All right, these are all the images from Spokane. They're suppressing this information now. There's hardly anything on the Spokane fires, even though today, the fire problem is starting to increase as it was before. Here where I'm at in Orlando, I flew in, and there's going to be rain. Normally in the summer we get some I've lived here in Florida. We get a little bit of usually in summertime, Florida's like beautiful. Our plane barely was able to come into Orlando. We had a great pilot, and on a wing and a prayer, because my wife Tracy and I were doing a lot of prayer and sending the angels. I look out my window, and I could see lightning storms on one side. I looked out the other window, and I see these massive thunder clouds. And we had a great pilot, obviously, and he flew in between these storms, under a storm, and then landed. A lot of people that were coming here for this LifeWave event that I'm speaking at here, they were delayed. They had to land in other cities and wait for the storm to go through. It'd be nice to have some of this weather over on the West Coast, right? But no, they're burning the West Coast, so they're sending all the weather here, evidently. All right, so this is, yes, it's not President Trump. I mean, a lot of you guys are going to defend President Trump because he can do no wrong. I'm a President Trump fan. You know that. But where's President Trump on this issue, guys? We're being burned alive in a lot of cases, like that poor woman in her home. Over 600 structures, I think close to 700, maybe over 700 structures have burned in Spokane, right? Conservative area that's being decimated. So again, if you're in a liberal city, you're probably like, I'm safe, I don't care. I'm safe. You conservatives, that's why my boys, you think you're going to last, they'll come for you soon, right? They'll come for you soon. And remember, a lot of you guys that are liberal, we need to work together, to take this threat out. All right, so let's look at Paradise. All right, Paradise, you can still get good photos. You can put up Paradise Fire, and they still have a lot of it. They don't have all of it. There's a lot of stuff that was out in the beginning that I used to talk about this for, when it first happened. And you could see a lot of this information, like this, these cars, all these. I think these were people, I think, that were trying to get away. And I remember people talking about it. There was videos of people, screaming in their cars, and cars were burning like that in these cars. So here, look at this. So I don't know if these cars were like along the side of the road or they pushed these cars out of the way, because it looks like if you look at looks like the burn was over here and they probably just bulldozed them out of the way. Look at this telephone pole. So green trees on either side of the road, as you see this fire truck coming through here, and this telephone pole, because this direct-to-injury weapon, it burned the telephone pole and burned these cars that were, our town has burned. Paradise devastated, right? And then you see like these images all over the place. Green trees, house, nothing but ashes all along here. Green grass, come on. It's pathetic, right? It's pathetic. It's pathetically obvious. So our military is not protecting us. All right, here's another excellent example. The trees are still living, so there's green. I don't know what time of year this is. Might be later on, but anyway, these homes completely burned into nothingness, ash. It's not a normal house fire, right? And why are these guys in hazmat suits around this fire? Well, we know why, because it's extremely hazardous from a direct-to-injury weapon attack. These guys were probably told, okay, make sure you suit up. They have gloves. They have stuff over their boots. They're wearing, good mask, helmets, everything. And they're going into cars trying to find people. There's an engine block and the wheels completely burned, and the brake metal completely melted. So that's the brake pad, metal, completely melted. Engine, completely gone. Probably somebody in that car that got dustified, right? And this happened. A lot of people said in the Paradise Fire that they would come up on, these places. They might find a little piece of bone left, but that's all. I mean, look at this car. This car is nowhere near the house fire, but it jumped to this car and it burned this car as if there was a fire underneath it, because that's the tires are burned, everything's burned. All right, I guess they have an X on it. They put an X on these cars when they checked them for bodies, right? So this is what's going on. Paradise Fire, quite a while ago. These fires keep going. They keep coming. There's no one going out and stopping this. There's no one going to stop this. All right, so you saw how all those homes were turned to ash along a broad, so Paradise Fire, and now let's jump over to the Maui Fire, the same situation. As you see here, all right? Houses burned to ash. Trees still standing, green a lot of times. Some houses left, right? Others completely gone. And this is supposedly from a brush fire, right, that spread. Now, this brush fire was so intense that it melted the piping underground, just like it did in Paradise, and I probably happened same in Pacific Palisades, I don't know. But it melted the piping underground so that the water that normally runs through those pipes, so that firefighters could fight fires. And they reported this in the Maui Fire. They didn't have any water pressure to fight the fires because the pipes are being burned underground by the directed energy weapons, melted so that the water can't come through. Okay, so, I mean, who's doing it? We're being attacked. Hello, we're being attacked over and over and over again. And our military is supposed to be here to protect us from foreign and domestic enemy, is not doing their job. What's our president doing? What's the president's staff doing? Why don't they send a team to investigate our citizens being attacked? Right? This is the way this needs to start being, talked about, guys. This is not random forest fires. This is directed energy weapon attacks, over and over and over again. The science is there, right? It keeps happening, and they keep putting people into positions of power that let this continue. Like this guy, Maui Police John Pelletier, led response to 2017 Vegas massacre, deep state activity, and President Trump was supposedly in one of those hotels with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. And that was supposed to be one of the reasons why they attacked. I don't know that, but that's, hearsay here, I don't know. But these are some of the things that we hear. Of course, they're not, if that was the case, they're not going to, openly say that in the press. Just like some of you are like, well, why don't they, come out and say, smart meters are causing fires? Are you serious? Are you serious? All right, Pelletier was named chief of the Maui Police Department in 2021 after more than 2 decades working in Las Vegas. So less than 2 years later, and within this time frame that he was police chief, the woman that had been handling all of the information about all the previous police chiefs and so forth for 20 years, I don't know, CIA activity or what's going on. Somebody got control of her car and ran her car into a tree. They have information that could, stop or compromise their operations. How many people have we heard over the years that were involved in exposing child trafficking of the elite, exposing military corruption. All these people, just their cars, it seems their cars get taken control of. And people see their cars going at very high speed into trees. All right, so Pelletier, part of the problem, obvious, deep state puppet boy that's put in positions. All of the people that were the Democrats' leadership were in Oahu in some kind of training event. The mayor, I think, of Maui was at this training event. We keep seeing that same situation. Mayor Bass of LA, when LA was burning, she was in Africa. All right, so they send them away so they can have deniability. All right, so now normally a mayor would jump on a situation and get the forces moving, get everybody involved. If the mayor's not there, and that doesn't happen, then you can claim deniability, right? There was no leadership there, all right? So it's same thing over and over and over again. So we know Mayor Bass, involved with communism in Cuba. She went to Cuba like 20 times or something crazy. And then they selected her for mayor of LA just before this burning in LA. All right, so let's look at the LA burning. All right, Malibu fires. So Malibu fire, same situation, guys. I'm just, you see the same thing repeated over and over again. That's not normal, and there's got to be some kind of abnormal thing that's happening directed at energy weapons. So here you go. Same situation. Everything burned to a crisp, right? Like that. Look at that. That's insanity. This house was on some kind of platform, concrete platform. So the fire came from where? All right, it's right on the beach. But look at this. All of those homes in Malibu. You look across the street, no homes burned. Occasionally you'll see one or two here and there, but same situation. I've been to Pacific Palisades, greenery all around, and everything turned to like this, to nothingness, right? So that's Malibu. Let's look at Pacific Palisades, because I know you guys are curious. You have the scientific mind, all right? You have the scientific mind, and you wonder about these things like I do. And because I have the scientific mind, I just look at it, observation, over and over and over again. And here we have Tom Hanks' cliffside LA home narrowly avoids wildfire. Oh my God, he's so fortunate. Look at that, all that greenery, and the house right above him burns to nothingness. Look at all that concrete and brick and all that stuff, and the house is just gone, right? So where did the fire come from? It came from this this mountainside here where the grass burned, and it came up to this house and it burned it to the ground. But Tom Hanks's house, no. All right, it's laughable. It's laughable. All right. So let's look at Mel Gibson's home. It's also in the Malibu area. He's not part of the team, as we know. He's called out the deep state. He's called out the child baddies, pedophiles, and whatever. All right, so here's his home. All right, greenery all around and completely dustified, except for the brick chimney. I guess the direct energy weapon doesn't burn brick, doesn't have enough temperature, right, to burn the brick. But here it is, greenery all around, house turned dustified, right? House dustified. Mel Gibson, not part of their team. Tom Hanks, part of their team, right? All right. So now let's look at let's keep our science discovery going, and let's look at the devastation that happened and more recently, not more recently because we got the Spokane fire and the Gan fire going on, but more recently as far as like homes being burned to nothingness, right? And I have a bunch of these pictures myself. Was this a homeless guy escaping? Pushing a homeless woman? So getting her out of there. Good job. So again, you got the green trees. I went there. I witnessed it myself. Straight down the line, you have, you know, the palm trees and the green trees all around, and everything's justified. And then you have the lone homes that just, who do those people know, or did they just like, let's just show them our power and we'll spare this home. So ha ha ha. They laugh at us, and our military does nothing, right? I'm a former military guy. I'm a former CIA guy. And it's very obvious and burning us out of our homes. And normally it goes into the conservative areas. But again, you liberals, you think they're going to not come after you eventually, right? Right? They're using you as their pawns to you know, stay in front of them while they come after us. Once we're gone, they're going to come after you as well, right? And you know that. All right. Heavy rain. Now, you know, some people are like, you know, it's China. It's like, you know, maybe it's China. Maybe there's deep state elements in China involvement, but you ask the people of China, they're going to tell you, well, they keep hitting us with all these storms. I don't think so. Heavy rains drench Beijing as China braces for Typhoon Dolphin, which is not going to come until Sunday and Monday. But right now, they're already getting massive rain bands. So they're going to get they're predicting up to 50 millimeters, about just shy of 2 inches an hour coming. 2 inches an hour. Imagine that over 8, 9, 10, 12, 24 hours, all right? Authorities said they have deployed more than 2,000 staff to help with the flooding around Beijing. That'll help. Not, right? China's eastern southern provinces have been prepared for dolphin, suspending ferry routes, halting construction, and evacuating fishing boats. Says heavy rains and floods in China's northwestern province of Shanghai collapsed roads, damaged bridges. This is before the typhoon even gets there. And when it gets there, you know, at one time it was a super typhoon, Typhoon 4. And now I think it's hitting Japan as a Typhoon 3 maybe, downgrading probably to a 2. And then when it hits the coast of Shanghai, then there will be a Typhoon 1. But already they're getting rain bands that are damaged bridges, power communications infrastructure on Thursday, prompting the evacuation of thousands of people. So days before the storm is there, they're getting hammered. So I don't know. You can't blame the Chinese people. You can't blame the American people. But somebody's doing this. Somebody's doing this that's making China military, American military, to stand down, right? And not get involved and stop this process. So something or someone out there is very powerful. Very, very powerful. All right. So meanwhile, let me see what's going on with silver. So silver's doing really well. It was down to about 55. Now it's up around it. Earlier it hit as high as 65. So it is doing quite well. And the stock market is doing so-so because China came out. China's winning the AI race, right? So a lot of AI stocks are down pretty hard. NASDAQ got hit pretty hard, although it was way up. And then China released an AI chip or something that had a lot of memory that no one thought it would be possible to have. And so AI stocks are down. So, but we see silver up tremendously and it's going to keep going up. Gold is up big. Silver, I said get into some silver stocks. Of course, you need to have your big bundle of silver with Dr. Kirk Elliott stored away safely, and have some silver on hand. But be careful; they might come and burn your house down. All right, so and then it'll be really hard to find that silver melted somewhere. All right, so you're better off, I think, at this point of having your money in a depository where it's if it does get melted, then it's covered by insurance. Lloyd's of London, and who's they're kind of suspect too after the Straits of Hormuz, where they refused to insure boats, and President Trump says we'll insure them, and so there's exposures that's going on. Yes, President Trump is exposing the deep state, going after the deep state, but I guess our military under Donald Trump, good military, is not powerful enough to protect us, U.S. citizens. All right, it's pure and simple, guys. They're not able to protect us. All right, so that should be very concerning and very sobering that our military cannot protect us from these direct energy weapon attacks that are happening. Right. All right. So that's all I got for right now. Passes around. Everybody's starting to wake up to the direct energy weapon stuff, guys. Keep pushing it. Keep sharing it. Get people informed. Get involved. Start pushing. Get your congressmen, especially in these states where they're burning you. All right. Get your Congress people, your representatives involved. All right. Keep pressuring them until they get tired of you pressuring them, and then they start to speak out. All right. This is the way it works. All right. Lots of love. Stay in the love vibration, and I will see you guys next time.
Restored Republic via GCR. Judy note. Thursday, October 31, 2019. Thousands of children rescued from torture by global elite pedophiles. In the 7 years since these original child rescues, Trump and his pedophile task force and global military alliance have rescued millions of children from around the world. Trump was now ready for the final call. Emergency transmission system warning. President Trump is going to tweet, "My fellow citizens, a storm is brewing and that will unleash global martial law on us. #Jazara/ #Nizara will be activated. Free energy towers are powering up across every continent, shutting down the old energy grid." B. What we thought we knew, but didn't really know and now are supposed to know but don't have a clue. With clones, doubles, made-up movies Hollywood style and Trump's military alliance throwing more popcorn at us, it gets so confusing. Thursday, August 6, 2026. Secretary of War Hegseth. Many of the Iranian military factories and bases that we're systematically destroying were paid for by the pallets of American cash that Barack Obama flew into Tehran under the Iran deal. This is an inconvenient truth. Obama is a treasonous liar. See Thursday, August 6, 2026. The event should be about 3 days based on Bay of Pigs. Then 10-day shutdown of Earth and activation of military EBS to TVs and radios worldwide. At the same time, all governments worldwide will be stood down as well as further arrests. We will then be having Jazara blockchain elections. We will be having govs 10% the size of what they are currently. All new people. Quantum Jazara aka Trump Zara. Quantum financial system, quantum voting system, quantum healing, quantum physics, quantum internet. Everything is going quantum. Nizara states rainbow treasury notes backed by precious metals. Adding quantum Starlink and ISO 20022 internationally regulated USA coins also backed by metals. QVS, blockchain no longer like the way we do it. Quantum internet. The internet is rebooted. No more Microsoft. Everything wiped. The current internet is Operation Mockingbird. Same as TV, newspapers etc. will not be anywhere near the same. One news channel etc. All media/papers is owned by the Mossad, all being removed. All private intelligence owned by the UK royals to be removed. No more Mossad, Five Eyes, CIA etc. Only intelligence will be military intelligence. Moab equals global currency reset, 1950s, plus precious metal standard plus quantum Jazara plus declas of everything on Earth. Military alliance sources confirm the frequency pods locked away in classified facilities in Maryland, Virginia and underground cities worldwide are now powering online for public use under the Restored Republic as declassification orders take full effect. EBS possible timing middle. There will be a EBS message sent over phones, TV and radio around the globe saying that in the next 5 hours or so, everyone needed to be home for a global lockdown that would last 10 to 12 days. Middle. NEWUPDATE will be announced to the world, which will show that everything new is beginning. Middle. Then through the EBS, they will show documentaries of everything that has happened to wake up the masses. Middle. At the end of the 12 days, they will give out an 800 number for individuals to call to obtain an appointment to set up your quantum money account on the new Starlink satellite system. Middle. There were 75 deep state banks that were seized and all assets and accounts closed. All the cabal's central banks have been taken over, with assets entered into the quantum financial system, QFS. Middle. The QFS is run on blockchain where nothing fraudulent can happen because everything is traceable. They can see where all money goes, which stops corruption in its tracks. Middle. Apparently all people have a sum of money in an individual quantum financial account. Middle. The seized assets of the cabal were moved to those quantum financial accounts of the people. All monies and trust funds were moved to individual QFS accounts. All our bank accounts, savings accounts and retirement accounts were safe in the new quantum system. Middle. The only monies not reflected in individual quantum accounts were investments and shares on the stock market. All that will be gone. It is advised to get out of the stock market immediately. Global currency reset. Thursday, August 6, 2026. Bruce, the big call. We are looking at Sat 8, Sun 9 or Monday 10th of August. For Tier 4B, us, the Internet Group, to get notified to make redemption appointments. Bruce's Reno contact said bondholders were flying in and out of Reno to get their accounts funded. They can see money in their account but don't have access. The Russian ruble was supposedly on the redemption center screens. Thursday, August 6, 2026, breaking special report, it's over, Trump just dismantled the 300-year City of London empire. Thursday, August 6, 2026, breaking financial intel, U.S. Treasury warning, Scott Bessent demands emergency Fed action as the yen crisis threatens to drag down American debt and crush the global system. Thursday, August 6, 2026, explosive report, power, lies and trillions. $65 billion Madoff versus $37 trillion Federal Reserve, the biggest Ponzi scheme in history exposed. Thursday, August 6, 2026, breaking bombshell, Trump's new plan to abolish the IRS, total IRS abolition and the ERS takeover will permanently rewrite global finance. Thursday, August 6, 2026, breaking U.S. debt clock detonation. Trump's Treasury dollar versus the debt machine. Every American owed $516,131 in hidden assets. Wednesday 5th of August. 2026 final phase activated, no turning back. Tier 4B is now live and moving. Global banking hubs in Zurich, Reno, and Hong Kong just entered their final liquidity cycle. Insiders report notifications are rolling out right now. This is real-time execution, not speculation. Breaking intel. Massive QFS movements underway. High-value transfers are clearing through the QFS, triggering full liquidity release across multiple tiers. Private banking channels confirm funds are already positioning, the final step before public rollout. Live bank screens lighting up with rates. IQD, $9.35, fully active internally, Zim, processing, elite groups receiving now, private jets just landed. High-level clearances confirmed. Military and government officials are arriving under security escort in Reno and Hong Kong. This only happens when history is being triggered. The next 6 to 12 hours will define everything. Deep state interference has collapsed, every move is being shut down instantly. The gold-backed financial system is here. Liberation is unfolding. The final switch is being thrown, be ready. Watch your inbox. When this completes, nothing can stop what follows. Thursday, August 6, 2026 Central bank gold realignment exposed. Over 1,500 tons of physical gold have been quietly repositioned under coordinated programs involving the BIS, ECB, and Federal Reserve Network since 2013. These movements were executed through Swiss clearinghouses and private bullion banks including UBS and Credit Suisse, off the public record. Official reports still show gold held in custody, but internal audits indicate large portions have been transferred out of traditional European vaults. Primary relocation zones include strategic facilities in the United States and Asia, linked to new settlement infrastructure. This gold was never meant for market sale. It was reserved for a different system. Documented links connect these transfers to ISO 20022 migration phases and upcoming asset-backed clearing mechanisms. The balance sheets show one story. The physical reserves tell another. Thursday, August 6, 2026. The return of gold-backed currency, what it means for your money. For most of human history, money meant something. Every dollar, every pound, every franc was backed by a physical reserve of gold. Then in 1971, President Nixon ended the Bretton Woods Agreement and unlinked the US dollar from gold entirely. Since that moment, money has been backed by nothing but trust in governments that print trillions at will, devalue savings overnight, and accumulate debt with no ceiling. The quantum financial system proposes a return to asset-backed currency. Under QFS, small blue diamond emoji, every unit of currency would be backed by a physical asset, gold, silver, or other tangible resources, small blue diamond emoji. Governments could no longer print money without limit, small blue diamond emoji. Inflation would be naturally controlled, small blue diamond emoji. Savings would hold their value across generations. This isn't a radical new idea. It's a return to the foundation that made economies stable for centuries. The radical experiment was removing gold backing in the first place. Thursday, August 6, 2026. History of the U.S. NEWUPDATE law, Quantum Financial System Intel. NEWUPDATE was signed into law by President William Jefferson Clinton in 2000, at gunpoint because the military forced him to sign it. He wasn't going to, and was to be announced by Alan Greenspan on September 11, 2001, at 10 a.m. This was prevented by the destruction of the World Trade Center by then-President George W. Bush, Dick Cheney and others involved with this great deception. They murdered 7,000 innocent Americans that day and stole billions in gold and silver from Building 7. In early 1993, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled on charges by the Farmers Union that banks in the U.S. were fraudulently foreclosing on farm mortgages and that the U.S. government was in collusion with these banks. The testimony and proof brought into court by a retired CIA agent led to further evidence and proof that Farmers Union claims were legitimate. It also led to evidence that the 16th Amendment, the Income Tax Amendment, was never properly ratified by the required number of states and therefore, declared that income taxes were unlawful. Almost unanimously the U.S. Supreme Court justices ruled in favor of Farmers Union. The justices recognized that overwhelming evidence proved the U.S. government and the Federal Reserve banking system were perpetrating fraud in many ways upon Americans. The justices recognized that to remedy this situation, massive reformations would be required. When rulings were made by the U.S. Supreme Court, one or more of the justices are assigned to monitor the process by which rulings are carried out. In this case, 5 of the justices were assigned to a committee to develop steps to implement the required governmental and banking reformations. As the justices went about developing the changes, they enlisted the help of experts in economics, monetary systems, banking, constitutional law and other areas. They built coalitions of support and assistance with thousands of people worldwide, working with us to bring NEWUPDATE and Jazara to fruition. These people were called the White Knights. The term White Knights was borrowed from the world of big business when a vulnerable company is rescued from a hostile takeover. Because of the enormously sweeping changes the rulings by the U.S. Supreme Court required, an extremely strict gag order was put in place on everyone involved. The justices also sealed all records on the case until after the reformations are all accomplished. To maintain secrecy, the case details for the docket number assigned to the Farmers Union case were changed. So, doing a search for this case will fail to reflect the correct information until after the reformations are made public. At every step of the process, anyone directly involved has been required to sign an NDA to keep the process of implementing the required reformation secret or face charges of treason which are punishable by death. To implement the reformations, the 5 justices spent years negotiating how the reformations would occur in agreements called accords with the U.S. government, with Federal Reserve Bank owners, the IMF, World Bank, and numerous countries including the UK and the EU. The reformations required the Federal Reserve Bank system to be absorbed by the U.S. Treasury and all fraudulent banking activities to be stopped, as well as remedies to Americans for past harm due to fraud. The U.S. banking reformations will impact the entire world and therefore the IMF, World Bank and other countries involved including the UK and the Vatican City. Members of Congress were ordered by U.S. Supreme Court to deny the existence of Nizar/Jazara or face charges of treason, punishable by death. Some members of Congress were charged with obstruction and threatened with charges of treason. Therefore, all members of U.S. Congress have had to pretend that Nizar has not been passed in order to comply with the Justice's gag order. Thursday, August 6, 2026 breaking, on September 11, 2001, 2 planes hit 2 buildings and 3 buildings fell down. World Trade Center Building 7 collapsed and with it some of the most high-profile Wall Street cases and financial crimes to ever be brought into investigation had all evidence destroyed. Building 7 was a controlled demolition. It housed CIA offices. 9/11 was done by CIA/Mossad/IC. There were no hijackers. Operation Northwoods. CIA/Mossad/IC is owned and operated by the Rothschild-Rockefeller cartel. They hate you and want to impoverish/control/starve you via Great Reset/NWO New World Order. Citadel is the new Enron and Ken Griffin is founder and CEO, JFK Jr. Command Center on Telegram. Thursday, August 6, 2026 Fox News, over 9.2 million people, including illegals do not even meet the federal requirements or qualify to be on Obamacare. Half of the entire system is fraudulent, with California and New York at the top of the list, with over 60% of the people enrolled not even eligible. It's always the bluest states. Another money laundering system to skim off the top, with illegals and Democrats gaming the system, robbing American taxpayers blind. Thursday, August 6, 2026, breaking special report, it's over, Trump just dismantled the 300-year City of London empire. Thursday, August 6, 2026, breaking financial intel, U.S. Treasury warning, Scott Bessent demands emergency Fed action as the yen crisis threatens to drag down American debt and crush the global system. Thursday, August 6, 2026, explosive report, power, lies and trillions, $65 billion Madoff versus $37 trillion Federal Reserve, the biggest Ponzi scheme in history exposed. Thursday, August 6, 2026, breaking bombshell, Trump's new plan to abolish the IRS, total IRS abolition and the ERS takeover will permanently rewrite global finance. Thursday, August 6, 2026, breaking U.S. debt clock detonation. Trump's Treasury dollar versus the debt machine. Every American owed $516,131 in hidden assets. Thursday, August 6, 2026, exclusive report, the ultimate deep state cover-up unmasked, explosive documents that will change everything. Thursday, August 6, 2026, the number one bombshell they fear the most, Tucker Carlson unmasks the Fed, the CIA and the war profiteers running the world's biggest con game. They say that Obamacare was established for child trafficking, and, although hard to believe, it was proving to be true. Trump's DOJ investigations should be coming out soon to verify this evil practice of our former presidents. What was sad was that we knew all this way back in 2013, perhaps before. Hillary Clinton emails on Benghazi and what was thought to be an international child trafficking pedophilia ring known as Pizzagate or Pedagate were found by Seth Rich prior to the 2016 presidential elections. Rich, an employee of the Democratic National Committee, DNC, turned the emails over to WikiLeaks, where they were exposed to the public. On July 10, 2016, where he was said to talk about the emails and just prior to his congressional testimony on Clinton. What was Trump and the White Hat Global Military Alliance doing about such evil practices that were suspected to have been going on since the time of Cain? A lot. The exposure was set to begin in a day or so with the announcement of the global currency reset, better known among patriots as the beginning of the Golden Age. The reset was taking away the cabal's monetary sources and giving it back to the people. On Wednesday, 5th of August, 2026, that the Golden Age was here, spearheaded by Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin and a fierce 17-nation coalition of the White Hat Alliance. Trump's new republic stood tall and the debt jubilee had been executed. Nizar had been fully activated in 209 nations and mortgage, credit card, student loan and illegitimate taxes debt were being erased. On Wednesday, 5th of August, 2026 at 12 p.m. EST, published, military forces are positioning for activation of the EBS. Systems are being readied. Global shutdown protocols are in motion. The blackout is nearing. Disclosures are on the horizon. Large-scale arrest operations are approaching. On Wednesday, 5th of August, 2026 event will span approximately 3 days, drawing inspiration from the Bay of Pigs incident. Following this, there will be a 10-day Earth shutdown and the activation of the Military Emergency Broadcasting System, EBS, broadcasted globally on TVs and radios. Concurrently, governments worldwide will be temporarily disbanded, accompanied by further arrests. Subsequently, the Global Economic Security and Reformation Act, NESARA/JESARA, blockchain elections will be initiated, ushering in governments reduced to 10% of their current size, with entirely new personnel. This transformative endeavor, known as Quantum JESARA or Trump-SARA, encompasses various facets of advancement, including the quantum financial system, quantum voting system, quantum healing, and quantum physics. The transition extends to the digital realm with the quantum internet, symbolizing a comprehensive shift toward quantum technology. Under JESARA, currency undergoes a transformation, with NESARA introducing rainbow treasury notes backed by precious metals, augmented by the integration of quantum Starlink and internationally regulated USA coins adhering to ISO 20022 standards, also backed by metals. Furthermore, the quantum voting system, QVS, revolutionizes blockchain technology, departing from conventional approaches. The quantum internet overhaul entails a complete reboot, eliminating existing entities such as Microsoft, as the current internet infrastructure is likened to Operation Mockingbird, entailing centralized control and manipulation. Media outlets and publications, previously influenced by entities like the Mossad, will undergo restructuring, eliminating ownership ties and biases. Private intelligence entities, including those affiliated with UK royals, will be dissolved, leaving military intelligence as the sole intelligence authority. What we thought we knew, but didn't really know and now are supposed to know but don't have a clue. With clones, doubles, made-up movies Hollywood style and Trump's military alliance throwing more popcorn at us, it gets so confusing. Global currency reset, see Wednesday 5th of August. 2026 final phase activated, no turning back. John F. Tier 4B is now live and moving. Global banking hubs in Zurich, Reno, and Hong Kong just entered their final liquidity cycle. Insiders report notifications are rolling out right now. This is real-time execution, not speculation. Breaking intel, massive QFS movements underway. High-value transfers are clearing through the QFS, triggering full liquidity release across multiple tiers. Private banking channels confirm funds are already positioning, the final step before public rollout. Live Bank screens lighting up with rates. IQD, $9.35, fully active internally. Zim, processing, elite groups receiving now. Private jets just landed. High-level clearances confirmed. Military and government officials are arriving under security escort in Reno and Hong Kong. This only happens when history is being triggered. The next 6 to 12 hours will define everything. Deep state interference has collapsed, every move is being shut down instantly. The gold-backed financial system is here. Liberation is unfolding. The final switch is being thrown, be ready. Watch your inbox. When this completes, nothing can stop what follows. Judy note, no one knows the exact date for notification of appointments for Tier 4B, us, the Internet Group, to exchange foreign currencies, but deadlines shown in the above timing indicated to be very soon. We have been told that Wells Fargo, which is controlled by the Chinese elders, the ones who own the gold behind the global currency reset, will send out emails to currency and bondholders worldwide telling them how to set redemption and exchange appointments. It is advised to exchange/redeem your foreign currency at an official redemption center, RC, rather than a bank. You can only redeem ZIM at RC. The dinar contract rate can only be given at RC and banks will offer you lower exchange rates than what you can obtain at RC. You can only set up your new wallet, bank account, at RC. It was my understanding that most banks were under control of the cabal and would soon play a different role in the global financial system. Wednesday 5th of August. 2026 411 EST debt jubilee executed, zero balances worldwide, credit cards zero, student loans zero, illegitimate taxes erased. QFS displays updating Live, the people are free. NESARA/JESARA fully activated IA in 209 nations. Trump's constitutional republic stands tall. The golden age is not coming, it is here. The world-changing event we've been waiting for is here, spearheaded by Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin and a fierce 17-nation coalition of the White Hat Alliance. Wednesday 5th of August. 2026. The reset, the inevitable collapse of debt-based fiat. The global restart button. QFS, Quantum Financial System, the unhackable, sovereign backbone designed to replace SWIFT. XRP, the digital bridge. The liquidity heartbeat that moves value across the QFS in seconds. Wednesday 5th of August. 2026. Nizar Jazara detonation, the divine laws unleashed, deep state's chains shattered, Patriot Golden Age erupts now. Patriots, this is it. Nizar/Jazara, the suppressed white hat mandates buried since the cabal's 2001 blackout, just ignited fully via QFS quantum firestorm. Fused with Elon code, GCR/RV blasts, and satellite overrides, these sacred protocols are enforcing biblical justice, trillions reclaimed, slavery ended, your sovereignty restored overnight. NESRA, America's Liberation Hammer National Economic Security and Reformation Act, signed in secret, blocked by treasonous shadows. Now live, debt holocaust ends, all personal debts, mortgages, cards, loans, erased. Banks' fraudulent ledgers wiped clean. IRS obliterated, income taxes abolished. Refunds incoming for every stolen dollar since 1913, with compound interest slamming accounts. Constitutional restoration, 1871 corporate fraud reversed. Republic reborn under original laws. Corrupt officials arrested en masse. Elon code accelerates, your biometric scan pulls Nizar at ears, $100K plus freedom dividends dropping as starter fuel. Jazara, Global Dominion strike Global Economic Security and Reformation Act, 209 nations locked in. White hats flipped the switch, wealth redistribution tsunami, cabal's $500 quadrillion hoard seized. Floods to patriots via gold-backed QFS credits, RV/GCR supercharge, currencies revalued real-time. Dinar/dong/zim explode, turning holders into overlords. Peace enforced, wars funded by theft. Terminated. Military-industrial vampires starved. Jazara embeds in QFS, humanitarian vaults burst, clean water, free energy, med beds for the awakened. How Nizar/Jazara hits you hard, quantum activation, Elon code verifies your suffering file. Nizar/Jazara algorithms calculate your cut, millions in reparations. Payout phases, Wave 1, debt zeros plus tax refunds. Wave 2, prosperity packages, $10M plus for verified. Wave 3, tech releases, anti-grav, healing. Starlink alerts, Nizar/Jazara tier unlocked, claim divine inheritance. First enforcers report, accounts igniting with Jazara gold credits. Redeem for land, assets, freedom. Cabal's apocalypse, no escape. They mocked these laws as conspiracy. Now they beg as tribunals loom. Quantum locks seal their fates, assets frozen, networks crumbled. Nizar/Jazara equals God's ledger balanced. The meek crush the wicked. Your protocol, seize the golden age invites raging, Nizar/Jazara verified, enter quantum sanctuary, scan in immediately. Confirm damages. Tier explodes, bonuses for Q patriots, truth warriors. No invite. QFS hunts the faithful, your prayers flagged you. This is the Great Awakening's payday. Nizar/Jazara isn't reform. It's revolution coded in eternal law. The storm delivers paradise. Poverty. Myth. Oppression. Dust. Patriots, rise as sovereigns. The laws are alive. Wednesday 5th of August. 2026 boom. The quantum financial system reigns supreme. The National Quantum Initiative Act will eradicate financial tyranny and unite the world. 107, JFK Jr., on Telegram. The National Quantum Initiative Act continues driving the quantum financial system as the force transforming the global economy. Quantum technology stands ready to end poverty, lock in full financial transparency, and unite humanity inside a system free of corruption. The shift is underway now. Nizar and Jazara form the foundation of that reset. These frameworks deliver the global financial and social overhaul that returns control to ordinary citizens rather than banking cartels. Combined with quantum advances, they open the door to a completely different order. The quantum financial system itself is operational and prepared to overhaul the world economy. Arrival of the QFS together with NEWUPDATE and Jazara policies terminates the financial tyranny that has held nations for centuries. Debts zero out, wealth redistributes according to real value, and the system finally serves the people instead of a privileged few. NEWUPDATE targets the domestic reset, elimination of personal debt, abolition of the IRS, and restoration of a gold-backed currency carrying real worth. Taxation is restructured and systemic corruption is brought into the open. Jazara extends the same principles worldwide. It ends global poverty, installs a gold-backed international currency, and creates conditions for lasting peace among nations. With the QFS already in place, nations exit debt and warfare loses its economic drivers. The quantum financial system runs on quantum computing. Transactions clear in real time under complete transparency. Every movement of value is recorded and verified under the strongest encryption available. Central banks lose their reason to exist. Financial freedom becomes the baseline right of every person. Supported by NEWUPDATE and Jazara, the system drives the global change that ends financial inequality, removes poverty, and unites people under verifiable truth. Financial tyranny is dismantled and authority returns to the population. Wealth and prosperity become the standard condition for humanity. The age of quantum dominance has opened. This video is reposted from the blog. Between January 2021 and December 2023, I identified exactly 1,247 policyholders across our book who fit this pattern. Terminal diagnosis, followed by complete cessation of all medical activity. Not death. Not hospice. Not alternative care. Nothing. I flagged it to my department head. He told me to recategorize them as data anomalies and move on. I didn't move on. I started mapping the 1,247 cases geographically. What I found made my stomach drop. 83% of them lived within 60 miles of a known military installation. Not random bases, specific ones. The same 14 facilities kept appearing. Fort Detrick. Wright-Patterson. Nellis. China Lake. Dugway. The pattern was undeniable. I compiled a 140-page report with a full statistical analysis. Confidence interval, 99.7%. The probability of this pattern occurring by chance was less than 1 in 4.3 billion. I presented it to the VP of Risk Assessment. He read it in silence. Then he said, "You need to understand something. There are clients we insure who are not supposed to get better. And there are clients who are selected to get better. Your job is to model the first group. The second group does not exist in your spreadsheet. Do you understand?" I resigned in March 2024. I kept copies of everything. The technology is real. The cures are real. The numbers don't lie. And now that the declassification has begun, every actuarial table in the country is about to become obsolete. I'll Save the Children, Wednesday 5th of August. 2026. Over $1 trillion in taxpayer money is stolen each year, and the deep state is orchestrating it. The money vanishes into terrorism, child trafficking, and luxury for criminals, while hard-working Americans foot the bill. This is treason hidden in plain sight. Wednesday 5th of August. 2026. Senator Nancy Schaefer exposed the corrupt business of CPS, lost her Senate seat for it, then she and her husband were found dead. Nancy Schaefer's own words still hit harder than anything you'll hear today. Watch this. Jessica Rojas, USA emoji, flexed biceps emoji, on X, she exposed the corrupt business of CPS, lost her Senate seat for it. Nancy Schaefer's own words still hit harder than anything you'll hear today. What we think we know as of Thursday, August 6, 2026, Wednesday 5th of August. 2026, an 80-year-old reader wrote that for 30 or so years she had her Social Security check automatically deposited in Wells Fargo Bank each month, and the next day would take $800 out in cash, leaving around $100 in her account. She did the same in early July 2026. However, she received a letter from Wells Fargo a few days later saying she owed them $800. Evidently a day after she drew out her cash, someone, inside or outside the bank, had called Wells Fargo and had $800 transferred from her account to theirs. They had her security code and bank account code. Wells Fargo cut her off access to her own money and wouldn't even let her know how much was in her account. She has been calling, going down to the branch and complaining to Wells Fargo all month. They keep telling her they will look into it, which over a month later, they never have. It's strange that they won't clear up the problem this same month when all banks are being closed out of the new gold/asset-backed system. It's even stranger that it happened at Wells Fargo, which is supposed to be controlled by the Chinese elders who are backing the RV. Wednesday, 5th of August. 2026 Representative Harriet Hagman, the Department of Education runs a $280 billion annual budget. Less than 25% ever reaches students in the classroom. The rest flows straight into bureaucracy. Then to consultants, who turn around and donate right back to Democrats. Then to more consultants. Then to NGOs. It is money laundering and money churning at its absolute best. This is the Federal Department of Indoctrination in its purest form, a permanent Democrat slush fund dressed up as education. That's why the left is losing its mind over DOJ and Trump's agency-by-agency purge. They're protecting the pipeline. Send the power and the money back to states, parents, and actual classrooms. Wednesday, 5th of August. 2026 Breaking global intel, Trump shatters the British imperial system and the Fed. Europe locked out of negotiations as Trump demolishes the Wednesday, 5th of August. 2026 alert. General Michael Flynn, America is in the third ARC of history. This is an existential battle for our republic. Wednesday, 5th of August. 2026 In 1900, John D. Rockefeller controlled about 90% of oil refining in the United States. According to some estimates, he was the richest private individual WHO ever lived. They used the Tavistock methods of social engineering to destroy the traditional family unit, national pride, and individual spirituality, replacing them with a state-dependent, high-surveillance hive mind. They aren't just managing the economy, they are managing the evolution of the human species. The committee controls the world's black budgets and the international drug trade, using the trillions of dollars in untraceable funds to finance their secret projects and private armies. They are the ones who fund both sides of every conflict, ensuring that no matter who wins the war, the committee wins the debt. They operate through a network of think tanks and secret societies, including the Royal Institute of International Affairs, RIIA, and the Council on Foreign Relations, CFR, to ensure that their policies are implemented in every country simultaneously. They are the invisible hand that steers the ship of history. The alliance has recently revealed that the Committee of 300's influence is being systematically dismantled. The financial sovereignty of nations is being restored through the QFS, and the secret accounts used to fund the Olympians are being seized. The White Hats have successfully mapped the entire hierarchy of the 300, and the legal cases for crimes against humanity are being finalized. The era of the untouchable elite ruling from the clouds is ending. The Olympians are being brought down to earth to face the people they tried to enslave. The pyramid is being leveled. Code, Committee 300, Olympian/East India CO/global hierarchy. They told you it was globalization. They lied to hide the fact that it was a global plantation. The masters are losing their grip, and the fence is coming down. They think they are gods because they have the money. They forgot that the people have the power. Wednesday, 5th of August. 2026 The Bilderberg Group, the annual meeting of the World's Secret Masters, SG, a group of approximately 120 to 150 of the world's most influential people, heads of state, CEOs of multinational corporations, high-ranking military officials, and media moguls, gather in a luxury hotel somewhere in Europe or North America. This is the Bilderberg Group. The meeting is strictly off the record, with no press allowed, no minutes taken, and no public statements issued. It is the ultimate private club where a global agenda is discussed and decided by those who truly hold the levers of power. The meetings are held under the Chatham House rule, which means that participants are free to use the information received, but neither the identity nor the affiliation of the speakers may be revealed. This secrecy allows the elite to speak candidly about their plans for the global economy, international relations, and social engineering without the interference of public opinion or democratic oversight. Whistleblowers have revealed that the Bilderberg Group acts as a steering committee for the New World Order, coordinating the policies of the G7, the IMF, and the World Bank to ensure a unified direction for the global financial system. Why the secrecy? Because the Bilderberg Group is where the Great Reset was actually conceived and refined. It is where the decisions to trigger economic collapses, launch trade wars, and implement global surveillance systems are made. The group's influence is so vast that a Bilderberg nod is often seen as a prerequisite for anyone seeking high office. Many future presidents and prime ministers, including Bill Clinton and Tony Blair, attended Bilderberg meetings just before their sudden rise to power. It is the place where the puppet masters choose their next set of actors for the world stage. The alliance has revealed that the Bilderberg Group's influence is finally being neutralized. The secret oaths that bound these participants to the global agenda are being exposed, and the funding for their private meetings is being cut off. The White Hats have successfully infiltrated the group's security and recorded the discussions of the last several years, providing the evidence needed for the upcoming global tribunals. The era of the secret masters deciding the fate of billions behind closed doors is ending. The light of truth is finally reaching the most private rooms of the elite. Code, Bilderberg Secret/Chatham House Rules/Steering Committee/Global Agenda. They told you it was just a private discussion group. They lied to hide the fact that they were deciding your future without your consent. The hotel is booked, but the guests are being evicted. The world is not a business, and the people are not assets. The board of directors is being fired. 5th of August. 2026. The FBI whistleblower WHO broke the code. They planned Trump's removal before the inauguration. Mr. Poole. My name is redacted. My security clearance is still active. And I'm risking everything to tell you what I saw in the classified vaults beneath the Hoover Building. I was there. May 2, 2017. 4 days after Comey was fired. I watched them open the file. I watched them name it. I watched them predicate it on a lie. The investigation was called Oxford, not because of grammar. Because it was designed to be invisible. Hidden in plain sight. A code name that meant nothing to outsiders but everything to those who knew. The premise was simple. Trump was a Russian asset. Trump fired Comey to obstruct the Russia investigation. Therefore, Trump must be removed. But here's what the declassified memos don't tell you. I saw the real memo. The one that was redacted. The one they didn't want you to see. It stated, the goal is not truth. The goal is removal. Those were the exact words. Not my interpretation. Their words. Typed by FBI Counterintelligence Chief William Priestap. Approved by James Baker. Signed off by Andrew McCabe. What's our goal? Truth/admission, or to get him to lie, so we can prosecute him or get him fired. Strzok wrote. That was the real investigation. Not seeking truth. Manufacturing lies. They knew the Steele dossier was garbage. I personally reviewed the spreadsheet. Every single claim was marked, unverified, internet rumor, or unable to corroborate. Igor Danchenko, Steele's primary source. Russian asset. The FBI knew it. They had suspected it for years. But they used his information anyway. Mike Flynn. They cleared him. Then they invited him to an interview. Then they charged him with lying in that interview. The goal was entrapment, not justice. I watched them do it. I watched them smile while they did it. The Steele dossier was paid for by Hillary Clinton's campaign through her law firm. The FBI knew this. But they used it as the foundation for the entire investigation into a sitting president. This wasn't counterintelligence. This was a coup attempt. And the declassified memos are just the tip of the iceberg. The real evidence is still classified. The real conversations are still hidden. The real conspiracy is still buried. But I'm telling you, it exists. I saw it. I documented it. And when it comes out, it will shock the world. Trump was right to fire Comey. Comey mishandled the Clinton investigation. The FBI knew it. But instead of accepting accountability, they opened a false investigation into Trump. They used the intelligence apparatus of the United States government to target a political opponent. They violated the Constitution. They violated the law. They violated their oaths. And now they're being exposed. The declassified memos are just the beginning. More is coming. Much more. Within 60 days, expect major revelations. Indictments are coming. The truth is coming out. The deep state thought they were untouchable. They thought their crimes would stay hidden. They were wrong. The vaults are opening. Files are being declassified. Truth is coming. History will record this as the day the deep state fell. Oxford, exposed FBI coup revealed truth incoming.